picture perfect afternoon as the weekend of the 67th running of the Mobil 1 12 Hours of Sebring is beckoning, but it's Friday afternoon racing that takes our attention right now. We're in Central Florida and the hallowed ground, hallowed concrete of Sebring International Raceway. 17 corners, 3.75 miles, and the names, well, they tell it all. Le Mans Curve, Gurney Bend, Fangio Chicane. All of those corners mean something when it comes down to motor racing. The action areas at the awesomely scary and fast turn 1, into the hairpin at turn 7 in front of the hotel, and down at 17. It's called Sunset. That won't be a problem for us here, but there is a passing opportunity if you're brave on the undulations of this concrete circuit that was once, of course, an airfield for training field for World War II bomber pilots. That's what it started life as, and an intrepid bunch of enthusiasts in the 1950s decided it would make a great motor racing circuit, so they marked one out with barrels, and all of a sudden endurance racing down here in Florida was born. It took the interest of a number of different series, including the early years of the Grand Prix, the US Grand Prix, also here as well. But sports cars has always been an integral part of the history here of Sebring, and that's why it's great to be back here for this IMSA sanctioned weekend. And one of the development series, the second rung, if you will, of the IMSA ladder series, just one down from the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship, is the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge, with a great field of GS, GT4 cars, to those of you in the international parlance, and TCR, a full international formula for 2-litre front-wheel drive touring cars. It's fast, it's frenetic, there's enough strategy. People say 2 hours isn't really an endurance race. I say, pah, to you. Absolutely it is. Pah! It is an endurance race, and strategy here will play out. Shea Adam telling us in our countdown to green, Jeremy, that it might be as many as 3 pit stops as far as the GS cars are concerned, because of the worry about tyre wear and degradation and the performance drop-off.
Yeah, I certainly they have enough fuel certainly to do on 2 pit stops, particularly if there's any cautions. I would expect 2. They can do about 40, 42, 43, 44 minutes perhaps of green flag running in GS, so I would expect 2. TCR is just 1, but again, you're right, the tyre wear certainly is a factor, and if there are caution periods, that might give some teams an opportunity to change their strategies and maybe make an extra stop for some tyres. They've been careful to look after their allocation as this week has progressed. You know, one interesting thing that in years past in IMSA competition, the 2 classes were kind of split by, there was the secondary class would start some way behind the primary class. Last couple of years, however, that's not been the case. The TCR cars, therefore, will line up directly behind the GS cars on the grid, and that's certainly, as we just alluded to a few moments ago, that is going to cause some tricky situations in the opening stages of this race. We've got some young chargers in those TCR cars, and they're going to be quite a bit quicker than some of the gentlemen drivers at the back of the GS field. And
don't forget, later on, we'll be asking you for your nominations for the Spirit of the Race Award, the Forge Line Spirit of the Race Award here in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. Hashtag is Forgeline, Forgeline SOTR, whether you're here at the track or further afield. Start thinking about that. We're looking for the individual, the team, the entity that most, in your view, displays the spirit of endurance racing. Hashtag Forgeline SOTR at IMSA Radio, please. And we'll let you know before the end of the race who has caught your eye today. There'll be plenty of stories to play out here as far as the race is concerned, as we line up the Corvette safety car, or pace car as it is now, will peel off into the pit lane, and the field will be under the control of the man, one of the 2 men that won the championship last year, Jeremy.
Yeah, the brief onboard there from Nate Stacey, the 19-year-old from Owasso, Oklahoma, qualified in 6th position, the fastest of the Fords. This is going to be spectacular. Get ready, we're ready to go green.
Take a deep breath, pull down your belts if you're in the cars, shuffle to the edge of your seat if you're watching. Owen Trinkler puts the right foot down and clears off towards turn number 1. It's a copy boot start in the AMG GT4 Mercedes turns into turn 1, and he's got clear daylight, and coming through from the second row, Tyler McQuarrie follows the pole man and immediately gets into second position. I did think the McLaren might make a little better start than that, but traditionally we've seen the McLarens not so quick. Remember at Daytona, supporting the Rolex 24 weekend, Jeremy, the McLaren, super quick, qualified on pole position, quick on the straight, but couldn't quite get the tyres up to temperature and couldn't hold on to the big lead they were getting on the fast parts of the circuit.
50 kilos of weight added to the McLaren 570S GT4 cars after Daytona to bring them more in line with the performance of the other cars here. Because of that, McLaren drivers have to be pretty careful not to burn off those tyres. 100 kilos heavier than many of the other cars on the grid, the Mercedes and the BMWs around them, so they do have to manage their tyre wear just a little bit more.
Challenge for the lead straight away. The Audi's come up the pace quickly, hasn't it? The number 39 Audi R8, Tyler McQuarrie, with that bright green stripe on the side. Owen Trinkler didn't fight that one too much. That was smart driving by the man from Nashville. That's how you win a championship. And off already, the 44 car, the Mike Vest Porsche, has gone off, and there's one of the Honda TCRs in there as well. This is down at turns. And Roy Block in the Alfa Romeo Giulia, the black number 5 car. So there's been action early on, at least a couple of the TCRs, and I believe there's a Porsche off. Now, whether that's in the same incident, one of the 44 Porsche Cayman GT4, I think that might have been a separate incident. Yes, it is. Turn 6 for the Porsche, and this is further round for the 2 TCR cars. There's a spinning, oh, I see what happened there. The Honda went around and then picked up by the Giulia as it came on the scene later on. Still under green at the moment, 3 wide going into turn 17. We're about to go to full course yellow, and the drivers have just been told that, and they've all backed off. Well, you've got to feel sorry for Roy Block in the 5 black and tricolore coloured Alfa. He was caught up, I think, in someone else's accident. He's managed to get it going again, and if he gets going quickly, he might just be able to get back round without losing a lap. I don't think it's trying, and it's the 73 LA Honda World car. Now that one has got moving again. I think that was the one that started the incident, if I'm honest. A lot of dust being thrown up. There's left rear damage to the Honda. Yeah, it was the Honda that went around, and a couple of cars were very close to it. And then we got a huge impact, which is taken off the left rear wheel of the Honda. That was the left front of the Giulia that made contact. Left rear suspension is absolutely destroyed on that car. That's a great shame for those guys. They had high hopes for this weekend, Jeremy. Well, yeah, Roy Block, I saw him just going on his way out to the grid. That car did not qualify because they had an electrical problem. He said the brain of the car wasn't working. The car, not the driver. The driver didn't get a chance to go out there. But he said the car's feeling really, really good. He was looking forward to racing. He'd already made up 4 or 5 positions on that early lap. We can see a lot of damage to the left rear of Mike Lamara's car number 73. So that's car's not. You might get it back to the pits, but I don't think it's going to go much further after that. Mike Lamara, the champion in the ST division back in 2013.
That electrical issue you were referring to, Jeremy, I just spoke with Barbara Burns, who we know from Risi Competizione and helping us out with that organization, and she just passed along a note to me that the problem they were having with those Alfa Romeos was in the ECU, and they actually reached out to Risi Competizione. Giuseppe sent one of his mechanics down here to Sebring on Friday with new ECUs so that they could install them in the cars and make the green flag today. Obviously, not the way they wanted to see that number 5 end up. However, there was a lot of effort put forth hoping for a strong result.
Yeah, and Risi Competizione does run one of these Alphas in the Blancpain series over here for TCR, but they're not running here this weekend. But they are they look after the cars in this country. I
was right. There was a Porsche incident, and it is the Mike Vest, the Vest Energy Group Porsche Cayman. He's out of the car, but that was a separate incident, I fancy, there, slightly further back around the circuit, and both of those cars, ironically, with left rear damage that were involved, the 2 TCR cars, and I have to say, I think the drivers have done a great job getting them back, but all they've done is saved themselves a walk back. Various pieces of bodywork and bits of undercarriage of those cars are falling off. So both of those cars now in the pit lane, and we'll get a report from Shea and Jamie, but I can't honestly see either of those getting back out, if truth be told. There'll be no pass around. We'll do the class sprint and we'll get straight back to it. Shea?
It's actually a very well handling Honda, but it is going to go straight back to the garage, and he's trying to go through the first cutout, and following him straight through is the Alpha. So they are going to be running line to stern back to the garage area. They are going to try and do some work to the car and see if they can repair it. Matt Pombo is still up on the pit box with his headgear on, and they do have their fuel line, but they're doing that terrible thing where they run the fuel all the way down to the end of the probe as if they realize that this could just be day over.
Oh yeah, they're draining the
exactly
the pipe. Yes, I see what you mean. Mike Vessa's car needs a flatbed, so there's something gone awry there very early on. That Porsche 718 came, and it's not been a happy weekend for the new Porsche GT4 Club Sport. He didn't even get to the Corvette bridge, so in fact it was a little previous. It was probably coming out of 5 just before he gets into Big Bend, really. And we've lost already 6 minutes of racing. Now the question for me is, did he jump or was he pushed? Meantime, the 93 Audi in trouble as well. Now, has he gone to the pit lane early on, or is he just stalled on the track? That car was started by Mark Siegel. No, he stalled on the way into the pit. He hasn't managed even to get it into the pit. He's got it going now. He's done the old three-fingered salute and gets it going. There's damage to the now CSI Sebring here, Detective Inspector Hindhoff. Actually, that was my dad, not me. But there's damage to the left-hand side of that car. Has that car been in contact with a Porsche? Question mark, Jeremy Shaw.
Well, yeah, I mean, they started in pretty close proximity because Mike Vess was directly behind Mark Siegel at the start of the race. He qualified the number 93 car in 23rd position, Mike Vess in the 25th position in car number 44. So, yeah, I think you might be right. And that's certainly unfortunate for both of those two enthusiasts.
Well, it was, as you say, close quarters racing early on. The Audi went very, very wide going into Big Bend. The Nola Sport Vess Energy Group number 44 Porsche. Oh dear, that's a lot of damage to the front and the right-hand front of that car. In fact, all the way down the right-hand side there is marks on that car. Do I see a bit of grey paint on there? I think I might do, you know. I think there's been a bit of side-by-side contact there between the Audi and that Porsche, and the Porsche has exited stage left for them and come into heavy contact with the wall just before the new drive over bridge. Not the way you want to start your Sebring race weekend. No,
horrid. Such a disappointment for both those teams. Mark Siegel, he's pretty new to the sport, but he's one of the team principals at Carbine Autosport and Peregrine Racing. They're running out of California. Steve Dinan is the other major player there, well, one of the other major players, and they came here really well prepared. Mark's just starting out in the sport. He was due to drive the number 93 car with Tom Dyer, who's very experienced and very, very quick. But as we've seen, the good news for that team is the sister car having a great start from Tyler McQuarrie in car number 39 is leading the race, but the 93 car, I think probably we won't be seeing again.
And Brian Herta Autosport here this weekend with the Hyundai Veloster in the TCR category. Second race after the world debut. Michael Lewis, you're in the number 98. You share with Mark Wilkins. How different is the car this weekend versus when it made its global debut at Daytona?
Yeah, for sure. This awesome Hyundai Veloster and TCR race car is a little bit more developed in terms of, suspension. We did some tests a couple days ago here and really fine-tuned the setup. But I mean, the base setup is right away really good. So we just kind of did some normal tests, and I think suspension-wise we improved a bit. So Mark Wilkins got a good start there. Just I saw him being a bit conservative. It's a long race, so let's try to keep our car safe and our teammates right there with us. So it's so far so good for Hyundai and our Velosterens.
The nature of the Sebring circuit is that it likes to eat race cars, really. With this being such a new car, a new platform, how concerned are you with the longevity?
For sure. I mean, you're always a little bit concerned, especially when you're in the heat of the battle and you have to do a long run of about 50 minutes to an hour. But from our experience, at Daytona, we realized this Veloster end is pretty good on tires. So, maybe we're not outright the fastest, but if you be smart and save those tires, maybe at the end of the race we can come back.
Look forward to see what you guys can do today and for the rest of the season. Thank you. Shay?
Colin Mullen is a true rookie to Sebring International Raceway in the number 52 LA Honda World Civic. How's your first time here been so far?
Yeah, first time at Sebring. Yeah, the bumps are really something to get used to, especially through turn 17. Yeah, we spent most of practice just fine-tuning some problems with the car, but we got everything sorted out for today. Qualifying, Max did an awesome job and put it on 6, which is the best the car's been all weekend. So, yeah, looking forward to a good race today. Unfortunately, our team car, the 73 LA Honda World Racing car, got hit. Not sure exactly what happened there, but it's such a shame to see one of our team cars out already. But we'll still try to bring home another 1-2 finish for the LA Honda World this weekend.
Trying really hard to make today good because, as I understand it, tomorrow is your prom, but you live back out in California, so you've got quite a bit of work to do to get back there. Have you picked out your suit yet, and are you just going to wear a Nomex fire suit?
Yeah, if I could wear a Nomex fire suit, I'm sure I would, but yeah, hopefully my tuxedo rental will be all set for tomorrow, but it'll be a busy day for sure.
Well, hopefully you can't wear your fire suit because at the end of the day it smells a bit like champagne or apple cider. Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Which would have meant, of course, that he had been on the podium. Thank you, ladies. An hour and 48 still to go. We've not really even had a full green flag lap, have we? But I think we've got the safety car lights out on that. It is still the Audi of Tyler McQuarrie who is leading.
Colin Mullen, by the way, he'll have his 17th birthday next Tuesday.
Don't. Just don't go there.
Yeah, really talented young guy, and he's sharing that number 52 car with Max Faulkner, another youngster who's actually just turned 21 1 week ago, last Friday. Lives now in Rumson, New Jersey, does Max Faulkner, but originally from Portsmouth in England. He moved here with his family about 10 years ago. His father is in the financial world, and as Max was telling me just a little while ago, he's kind of moved all the way around the world during his young life. He said even before he knew anything about it, he'd been to South Africa and Hong Kong, but home is now in the New Jersey area, and Max is a talented young guy. He came up through the Global MX-5 Cup Series, and he's qualified well that car this weekend. Just you're getting his feet wet in these TCR cars, but I think two guys there with a pretty bright future. Of course, Max drove last year in ST and did a really good job as well. He started off his racing in karting, then moved to the Monticello Country Club School in upstate New York. So he's got a fair bit of driving under his belt for another youngster looking to make his mark here. Something to go back to green, doesn't it?
We are indeed with an hour and 47 minutes, call it, as we go back to green. Tyler McQuarrie then leads them across the line. Owen Trinkler follows him off to the left-hand side, the right-hand side of the track rather, before making the left-hand turn. Down the inside, it's another fast-starting mid-engined car, but this time one of the McLarens that's coming through as we almost get three wide. Coming out of the first corner, Audi, Mercedes, McLaren. There's your top three.
61 car didn't sound very nice.
No, as it went through there. It was
like plug lead off.
It was Corey Fergus who was trying to make up ground there back in the pack in the white and blue number 69 McLaren, and he's having a go immediately on the number 2 Tyler Cook Audi R8 going round Big Ben turn 6 under the Mobile 1 walkover bridge. He's got through as well. It's been a brilliant restart. Can he hold on to it? Side by side into turn 7 with right in behind them the 6-0. That's one of the Ford Mustangs. In fact, it's the best place of the Ford Mustangs GT4 with Nate Stacey on board. He's got a great view at the back of the 2 and 69, the Audi and the McLaren, as they go through the sweepers and head up towards the braking area, turn 8. And the McLaren has gone through there for Corey Fergus, and he defended into turn number 8.
Good respect there among the drivers, number 2 and number 69, side by side through the hairpin. It's not easy to do down there, but as you can see as we could see from the onboard, the McLaren just had a little bit more straight line speed. They were pretty level coming out of the corners. At the end of that straight, though, the McLaren was able to edge ahead of the BMW.
Rahman Abdul Vahabi has gone off and the brand new Aston Martin number 97 is a little the worse for wear, with I think damage on the right hand side. It's been a very, very robust few laps. Just lost it on his own coming out of turn number 8, spun up the back wheels coming off the restart, gets a bit of contact with the right hand side, also going off the Riley Motorsports car.
Yeah.
The Win sponsored Mercedes AMG. It's the 97 car going off at the exit of turn 10, and a penalty as well being assessed for a jump start on that restart as the leading cars complete a green flag lap. The drive-through penalty assessed for the number 40 car, and that car's coming immediately for James Pesek, the Ford Mustang. BMW battle out on the circuit. The Bimmer World number 82 Optima Batteries cars goes up inside the 96 from Turner Motorsport. A little bit of inter-Bavarian battling there as they went through turns 3, 4, 5 and now into the big bend at turn 6. They're scrapping over 4th and 5th position, which has just gone to the 82 cars. They break down into the hairpin at turn 7. Man on the move at the minute for me is Corey Fergus. He's set sail from Tyler Cook when he passed him last time around, just a lap ago in that spot, and he's pulled out a second and a half. He's clearly got that McLaren up to speed very quickly indeed. Yeah,
he has. We saw nothing of the McLarens through the practice, but all of a sudden in qualifying, bang, they're right there. They've been concentrating on their race pace, and looks like they've got it because Corey is moving his way forward pretty rapidly. Interesting, a little bit further down the pack, there's an interesting battle going on there for 16th and 17th place. That's the two Ford Mustangs, number 58 and 59. It's DJ Randall who leads his father Rod, but they're absolutely nose to tail as they came past here last time, and that's going to be fun to watch. And in TCR, the initial start, Brian Henderson got the jump on Britt Casey Jr., the pole sitter, but on this first lap of green flag racing after the restart, Britt has managed to redress that balance. So it's number 17 car for JDC Miller Motorsports is ahead, that's the Audi, ahead of the Honda of Atlanta Speedworks, number 84.
So let's see how this settles down as the BMW from Turner Motorsport goes to drivers right down the back straight, and that's because Corey Lewis was in behind there, couldn't see it behind that car because it is so much smaller and so much lower. And Corey Fergus, sorry, behind that car. Did he make the pass down into turn 17? I'll tell you in a second as he comes through. Yes, he did. So that's another mistake, another place made up by Corey Fergus in the 5th place now, number 69, McLaren GT4. And McLaren Philadelphia let out a little whoop and holler. Before it all kicks off again, let's get a little more from the pit lane. Here's Jamie Howe.
Well, one of the Gander Outdoor Truck Series drivers, Grant Enfinger, currently leading the points championship after 3 races over there, but this is your first sports car race. Which are you most nervous about, going into turn 1 once you get in, or doing that driver change?
Definitely the driver swap. That's something we don't rush into in the NASCAR world, but it's definitely going to be exciting. I'm sure turn 1 and turn 17 will be exciting once I'm out there, but yeah, a little anxious on this driver swap.
It's all part of the Ford Driver Development Program. How much have you learned here this weekend?
It's unbelievable. So we've learned a lot. I feel like, Canada Motorsport is so important for us in our Truck Series race. But I feel like we're learning a lot of good habits here this weekend, and hopefully we can transfer a lot over. But more than that, just having a good time.
We'll look for those good habits next weekend also in Martinsville. Thank you.
Yeah, on the paperclip at Martinsville next weekend for the Gander Outdoor Truck Series. Great battling in the midfield in the early part of the lap, the TCR battle, and there was contact between the EU Reports, one of the EU Reports Audi, and the number 89 Hart, the red, white and black Honda Civic. And those guys were battling. That was Mark Siegel. No, it wasn't, excuse me. It was Russ McDonough in the number 12 TCR Audi who came into contact with the number 89 of Chad Gilsinger, that Honda Civic, and that was the battle for 7th and 8th in TCR. Into the pit lane, the number 61 Audi.
That's been misfiring since the restart.
Yeah, they've had I've had a couple of reports from people out on the circuit that it had to stop and do a bit of a reset. So that car into pit lane, and unless it's a very quick fix, and by that I mean literally just refasting maybe a plug lead. Gavin Ermstone is going to drop off the lead lap in class. The leader is still Tyler McQuarrie by about a second from Owen Trinkler. Then a bit of a gap, 2 seconds, back to James Clay in the M4 GT4 BMW number 82. Then the 2 McLarens now. Kuno Whitmer, who's been there for a while, started on the front row that 75 car, but he's got Corey Fergus bearing down on him in the lighter coloured version of that McLaren, the number 69 car. That's your top 5 at the moment. But great battling all the way down the field with still an hour and 40 minutes to go. 100 minutes of racing still remain of the Alan J Automotive Network 120. Friday afternoon racing on the concrete, on the asphalt, and in front of a huge crowd here at Sebring. A little bit of a wide exit from the first corner for Brent Mosing in the 65 Mercedes. He's right in front. He's the last of the big gaggle of GS cars in 21st position. He's right in front of the lead battle for TCR. The pole man, Britt Casey Jr., right in behind him. Then it's Brian Henderson in the dark coloured, well, it's not actually. The fact that the TCR guys must have gone through him, because it's the number 12 that's sitting in there. Is he a lap down already? No, he can't be. Oh, straight on at turn 7 for one of the Audis. Will make the fence at the end. It's the 23 car of Nick Galante. Now, you don't see Nick making a mistake very often. The purple, black and silver car has managed to get all the way down to the old hairpin and went in mainly backwards. There'll be some damage to the right rear of that car, but hardly anything. My, he's been lucky there, Jeremy.
He has. That was really odd. It looks like he got out on the dirty part of the track there and it kind of elected to go straight to get the car slowed down, but as he went into the braking area, he kind of lost it and the car spun around. But it wasn't a heavy impact, certainly, with the tyres. He might have got away with it, but it's certainly going to cost him a lot of ground.
Yeah, I see what I saw there. That was Ted Giovannis who was back there in the number 4, the multicoloured Mercedes AMG. So that was Russ McDonough, Harry Gottsacker and Nick Galante, who were having the battle behind him, in with the Honda as well. Earlier on, there was a bit of a contact. It included Chad Gilsinger. That has been reviewed. No further action. Robust from the Audi, but it goes through. And yes, Nick Gallant did get his left-hand Michelins on the grass as he was gaining very quickly on the cars ahead of him. And did manage to get to the tyre barriers, but they've dissipated the energy of the impact. Then just a few moments ago, out of turn 16, a walk on the wild side and a ride onto the grass. Massively off to driver's left for the 71. That's the Rebel Rock Racing car. Oh, that's such a shame for the team and for that 71 Camaro. Now the left front steering arm broken. So was the contact there before that car speared off? Drive it slowly and you might get it back to the pit lane, but it's going to be very tough indeed to get any kind of steering into that. It's Frank Depew who has done a masterful job. Wow. And he's actually used the exit of the FIA WEC pit lane to get that car off the track. That is very respectful driving from Frank Depew, and I doff my hat to him. We stay green with still an hour and 36 to go. Jeremy Shaw.
Yeah, new fastest laps each of the last 2 laps by our race leader, Tyler McQuarrie. 2 minutes 12.73 last time around. That is a new lap record for the Michelin Pilot Challenge. The old lap record was set last year by Spencer Papelli in a Porsche Cayman, 2 minutes 13.2. So really good pace here. Top 3 cars on the last lap, all of them quicker than the old lap record. Owen Trinkler about a second and a bit back in 2nd position. James Clay, a really good start in car 82 from 7th on the grid into 3rd position, but then close behind him, both of the McLarens.
Now this is Brett Mosing with the leader of TCR behind him in the metallic tangerine number 65 with the white bonnet, and he has just held up Casey Jr. for a moment. The pole sitter Brian Henderson is right there with the Honda number 84. Shelby Blackstock in another Honda not too far away. He's coming through now and will try to go down the inside of the AMG GT4, but he can't make that happen. So the two leaders are just going to get away from him a little bit. That'll be a bit frustrating for Blackstock, who will hand over to Tom O'Gorman, of course. Goes to driver's right and tries to get back past Brett Mosey, but that Mercedes is very quick indeed on the straight. Then it's the eggshell blue Hyundai Veloster N in the hands of Mark Wilkins, who's really got to grips with that new TCR car very well indeed. Flash of the lights from Shelby Blackstock, and there's frustration now in the body language of car and driver of the third place TCR car, mainly white with the blue accents on that LA Honda World Honda Civic, and he's got pressure now from behind now that Mark Wilkins has caught up with him, and he's trying to put a move on him. Further back down behind the next GS car, that is going to be a huge gaggle of cars there that are all being held up behind some of the faster GS cars that are recovering through, including the Audi of Rodrigo Sales, the number 8 car.
Yeah, well, they're all running the same similar sort of pace, because the TCR guys are a little bit quicker actually than the Audi at this stage. So the Audi's pretty quick on the straight, but in the braking areas and in the corners, the TCR cars gobble them up.
And the red, white and black Hart Honda has just made up a position. Remember, Chad Gilsinger was rather unceremoniously punted off at turn 3. Well, he's just got back ahead of the Kieran O'Rourke Audi, and he's now in behind the darker coloured Hyundai. That's the Harry Gottsacker number 21 car. It's all action this early running, isn't it? Let's head further up the field. Nate Stacey having a look on Tyler Cook. Tries to go around the outside. BMW in there as well. Robbie Foley side by side with that, and I think the Mustang just goes through. Yes, it does. So he's back on the tail of Tyler Cook in that white and blue number 2 Audi just ahead of him. Then it's the black and red McLaren of Kuno Whitmer, and Corey Fergus has got by Kuno Whitmer up into 4th position. We said Fergus was the man on the move from the start, Jeremy, and he's up to 4th place. Off has gone the 54, Michael Johnson, from 5th position in TCR, and that's at turn 17. You don't normally have a small off there. Came in, turned to the right, everything looks okay, and then the back end comes around, snaps away, gets on the brakes, but zero rear braking there. The fronts were locked, the rears were not. And that was just pure physics with the back end braking away. There was no way Michael was going to get that back, even if he'd floored the accelerator. And if that car doesn't get moving, we could have another safety car intervention. No, it has got going. I suspect it will peel into the pit lane with damage to the driver's side, the left-hand side of that car. I've not been able to take a full breath since we went back green. What's going on, lads?
Yeah.
Come on.
And a new lap record there for the 2nd place car of Owen Trinkler. The Mercedes car number 46, 2 minutes 12.522, as Michael Johnson brings that number 54 car onto pit lane. Boy, he's had no luck this season.
Shea Adam is down there. All the damage, I think, is on the opposite side from the pit wall, Shea.
It is. The toe link on the front left looks like it's pushed in at sort of an odd angle, but the mechanic who came around to look at the left rear first off sees something in behind the wheel that he doesn't like, and he has signaled to the rest of the guys, no, 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 it's the left rear. That's going to be the cause of issue. But yeah, the door massively pushed in. I'm not entirely sure this car is going to be coming back out, gentlemen.
And Nick Gallant just left pit lane in that number 23 machine we saw with the rear contact earlier. 4 IMSA pit lane officials came over. That's what I took away from this repair work. Their job is not to assess penalties. Their job is to make sure everybody stays safe, and that's exactly what they were doing. They reminded the team, if you have to go under it to check anything out, you've got to put the jack stands underneath it. They were pulling people away. They're making sure everybody stayed safe and cautious while conducting that repair work. A little bit of a delay in getting the jacks to go back in. They left one of those stands underneath it by mistake. So nonetheless, Nick is out. They did go down a couple of laps, but they're still going to make up some time here.
the brake disc is leaking fluid, which means that there is a hole in the line to the left rear brake, and it's actually spurting out fluid when Michael just applied some pressure to the brake hand controls that he has. So that will be a massive issue that they need to fix if they try to get this car back out.
Explains why he didn't have any retardation, and as the black was coming around, he tried to lock up the front but wasn't getting enough pressure, I don't think. So cause or effect we may never know, but I would think that might have been an issue before Michael went in there. He wasn't even able to lock the wheels up on that car once it went sideways. Shea Adam there before that, Jamie Howe reporting on Nick Gallant's Audi, which went backwards into the tyres at the hairpin and actually went to the old part of the hairpin. 90 minutes still to go. Let's see if we can settle down into a bit of racing here, shall we? Number 2 Audi is Tyler Cook, and right behind him is the number 60 Ford Mustang GT4, Nate Stacey, following him through the Jean de Bian bends on the far side of the circuit from us in beautiful, beautiful early spring weather here as they head towards the final right-hander of this section and onto the long back straight. Yeah, and Nate Stacey, he fell back from 6th to 8th at the start, but he's made up positions on each of the last 2 laps, so right up now into 6th place, and that number 2 car he is challenging as they come down the back straight, and Nate Stacey to the inside line trying to make a move on that number 2 Audi of Tyler Cook coming to turn 17. Yes, through he goes. Coming through turn 17. These GT4 cars quite... Oh, and into the pits. Very early stop for Tyler Cook. We've only been running for something in the region of half an hour. 23 car, by the way, will have to come back down pit lane. Wheel rotation whilst it was on the jacks. That will be a run back through pit lane. So what's this for the number 2? Is this a penalty as well? I think it might be. It doesn't seem to have pulled into its pit. And... no, his pit is on the other side of the bridge. Now I see the arrow, and it has come down to a pit stop. Well, this is very early for a regular stop show.
Very early indeed. They have the fuel nozzle attached, and they do not appear to be changing the Michelin tires on this Audi. So fuel only, perhaps to try and get that car off strategy a little bit early. Tyler Cook is staying behind the wheel of the number 8 E-Euro Parts Rover Racing Audi. The fuel probe is out, and Tyler is gone. Has to turn sharp left to go through the RFID readers at the end of pit lane. Otherwise, he'd been called for a penalty. That's very interesting indeed, Jeremy. To me, top that car up now and go longer into the race. Came out of a decent position and heading towards back onto the track. He will have dropped into a bit of clear air there, so he might be able to make some decent lap times. Well, he might, and he's obviously thinking that from here, with an hour and a half, just under an hour and a half remaining, he can get to the end of this race with just a one more pit stop. So is he going to go a lap down to the lead, the overall lead? Whoa. Okay, that's number 93 car that spun. I was going to say that wasn't the leading car, was it, that spun? No, it was Mark Siegler who spun directly in front of the number 2 car as it was coming out of the pit lane. That was a bit of a hairy moment. And it's Kenton Cook who's taken over the wheel of that number 2 Audi. That would have cost him a few seconds. No, there was no driver change. Oh, okay, the thing's wrong. Definitely no driver change, although it has changed on our screen. Jeremy is right, but there was definitely... never even looked like it was coming out. 93 car has been in the wars then, with the damage to the left-hand side of that car where we believe it came into contact with the Mike Vest Porsche. Got very sideways coming through that area. Mike Vest's car has been taken back to the paddock, but I don't think we'll see that one today. Needs a bit of remedial work. There's a big hole in the driver's door and the number panel on that number 93 Audi. That car then has rejoined with more fuel, and another problem for a TCR car. This time it's the number 10, and that's Kieran O'Rourke in the Europarts Rover Racing Motor Oil sponsored machine, and he's not getting that back, is he? He's pulled off the circuit to drivers right over on the far side of the circuit, right next to a marshal's post. So Le Carpentier not getting a drive at the moment with
Kieran O'Rourke having pulled that car up. It's down at turn 13, so as I say, right on the far side of the circuit. Sorry, Jeremy, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that once again, as at Daytona, reliability amongst these TCR cars doesn't seem to be terribly good, which is a surprise, because they're used to running long-distance races in all sorts of other series around the world. Daytona, I think there are only 4 of the 14 cars that finished actually at the checkered flag at the end of the 4-hour race, and already in this event we've had 3 or 4 of them having some sort of an issue. So that's certainly disappointing, but the lead in TCR still held by Britt Casey Jr. in the pole, sitting car number 17, the Audi, but only a second or so behind him are the pair of Hondas driven by Brian Henderson for Atlanta Speedworks and Shelby Blackstock in the number 37 car for LA Honda World. And also in the mix there, fell back a little bit on the last lap, but he's basically right there with him is Mark Wilkins in the best of the Brian Herder Autosport Hyundai's car number 98. First 2 though are pulling away from the 3rd place BMW of James Clay. Number 75 McLaren, that's slipping back pretty quickly.
So the 93 Audi's day goes from bad to worse. Mark Siegel confirmed behind the wheel of that car. Kenton Cook still on the wall, and in fact it's back to Mark Siegel's name. Mark's having a bit of an odd day today. He's just been assessed as a unsafe re-entry to the track, so he will be getting a drive-through penalty, so gets another chance to come through the pit lane. Excuse me, sorry, this is the 93 car.
Yeah.
Unsafe re-entry. So I wonder if that was when he
it
came...
was unsafe exit, to be fair, as well.
Yeah, well...
when he spun off the road directly in front of a car coming out of the pits.
Yes.
Sorry.
That was the 2 car that was coming out. Mark Siegel's name definitely alongside that car. The number 2 now has Tyler Cook's name back alongside it as well. That was the car that briefly had teleported Kenton Cook into it, but definitely not the case. So that was the 93 spinning right in front of the number 2, and will have to come back into the pit lane. Audi R8, Tyler McQuarrie leads 39 ahead of 46, the TGM Owen Trinkler car. Lovely run for the 39. That's the absolute 180-degree opposite, isn't it, of the problems that its team car, the 93's been having. Mark Siegel way down, 22nd in class and 30th. But the team car, Tyler McQuarrie leading by 1.2 seconds from last year's champion Owen Trinkler. Hugh Plum still to get in that car at some stage in the future. 46 in second then. M4 GT4 BMW, 82 James Clay, another 5 seconds further back.
Yeah, and actually the gap stabilised last 2 or 3 laps. Has been about the same between first and second and third, but the 4th place car, Corey Fergus, is definitely slipping further back from the BMW that's running 3rd, and the McLaren car number 69 as they head towards turn 1 is under increasing pressure from Nate Stacey, who's the best place of the Fords and doing a really nice job in car number 60. Number 75 McLaren, by the way, slipping back down the order. It qualified on the front row, now down into the 8th position.
Now, we were expecting, Jeremy, the bulk of the GS cars to break this race into approximately 3 sections, so pitting somewhere around about 38 to 40 minutes.
Yeah,
of course,
42, 43 minutes is a sort of setting. That's what IMSA officials are looking, but they mandate the size of the fuel tank, i.e. how much fuel you can put in, and they monitor all the fuel consumption, and the goal is to get the GS cars all running around about 42, 43 minutes on a tank of fuel.
However, we've had the intervention of the Corvette safety car, so everybody will be saving fuel like mad. Don't forget as well, the number 2 Audi came in off strategy, pitted last on lap 13, so just a couple of laps ago, and so I would think we've probably got another 3 or 4 laps perhaps before we see the cars have to make their pit stops. Of course, something happens on track before then, and all bets are off. Change of position in TCR. Harry Gottsacker under pressure from Chad Gilsinger. I think he managed to get through. Meantime, the 88 BMW has gone off track. Not without a bit of help, though. That was a little assistance from DJ Randall on Harry Schmidt. The 88 BMW GT4 facing the wrong direction and looking a little more dusty, but it has got back on the circuit. But that'll be looked at by race control as DJ stuck his nose in where it certainly wasn't wanted. Hearing from Jamie that at her end of the pit lane, some of the GS teams are starting to take a little bit of interest. They'll be just keeping an eye on what's going on the track, particularly when people start flying off the track. You're right in the window here. If there was a full course caution now, of course, everybody would come. You're trying to get in before it was called. In comes the 75 McLaren from Compass Racing. That's Kuno Whitmer who's into the pit lane, and this will be a driver change. We've done 40 minutes, and Kuno is out. Fuel going in. It should be the fuel that is the deciding factor here. Should be able to get driver and 4 Michelin's changed. Kuno is done. The scissor door goes down. Right side tyres done. And Jamie has the 73 as well.
Yes, scheduled stop here as well. Brynjolfsson now out of the car. Trent Hinman getting strapped in with the belts. At the moment, 4 new Michelin tires and fuel going in, so Trent will take it to the checkered flag at this point in the race. We saw that American flag helmet go in. Remember, Trent just earned the pole position in the GT Daytona category for tomorrow's 12 hours of Sebring. He's riding a bit of a high right now. I saw his mom and his dad out on the grid earlier today. Big smiles all around. Trent's ready to get in and make something of this race.
That's the Volt Racing bright yellow car that is run by Patrick Lindsay's Park Place team. A man who is expanding his interests in motor racing. Good to see them making that alliance. Leader coming round. Does he pit now, or does he risk going longer in the race? You don't want to get caught on the wrong side of a yellow flag, but then again, the longer you can go into the race now, it might stand you in good stead later on. The reason these cars are coming in, Jeremy, is because Trent Hinman is rolling, by the way, in that bright, almost highlighter marker coloured Porsche Cayman 718 GT4 Club Sport. The reason these guys are coming in now, Jeremy, is because if you started with your lesser ranked driver, 40 minutes is the amount of time that they've got to do, and 40 minutes is up now, regardless of any of the strategic thoughts.
Yeah, that's right. So they can make that driver change in the full knowledge that they'll have fulfilled that requirement of the minimum 40 minutes of driving for each of the drivers. Number 35, Jim Cox, bringing the that car, that Mercedes into bits. That's a Riley Motorsports Mercedes. He's done a really nice job in the opening stint of this race.
Second place
in the top 10, excuse me, John.
Second place battle for TCR goes past in front of us now. It's 84 and 37. 84 being the Brian Henderson Honda Civic, and 37 being the Shelby Blackstock Civic. So Shelby, having dealt with some of the GS traffic, is straight back onto second place. But whilst that's been going on, Britt Casey Jr. has managed to ease himself out in his Audi RS 3 LMS TCR, the 17, to about a 1.5 seconds lead as they go through turn 3 and 4. Oh, a little mistake by second place driver. He's gone off coming out of turn 4, and Shelby Blackstock needs no second invitation in the LA Honda World Civic. Tiny little mistake by Brian Henderson. He's got the power, I think, a little bit early. You've got to be so patient there, coming out of the exit of turn 4 into turn 5, underneath that bridge. On the power, just started to drift the front end slightly wide, and Blackstock took the opportunity. Here's the leader coming through turn 17. Does Tyler McQuarrie pit this time? No, he doesn't. Meantime, and not not what you could call a perfect pit stop down at the Morsing Motors pit.
In honor of the minions that adorn the side of the 65 Murillo racing car, no. There was a lot of confusion as the fuel was going into the car. All 4 tires have been changed. Brett Mosling was not expecting to jump out of the car until all of a sudden they signaled to him, yes, you are out, and Justin Piscatel is getting in, which makes sense. But Justin didn't know either. He was sitting on the pit box, no helmet on, not even the headstock or earphones. So he had to get ready about as fast as he is on the racetrack. Thankfully, that this young man is very speedy. Now they re-engage the car in gear, but that pit stop was about 60 seconds longer than it needed to be.
And that is 60 seconds. That's an eternity in terms of racing in this particular series. Battle for 4th and 5th. Corey Fergus has fought his way up to 4th position, and now Nate Stacey has caught the McLaren, and they're having a bit of a battle. The Core Motorsport and Forge Line sponsored number 60 with the Stars and Stripes on the roof of that very bright red bodied car. Corey Fergus is about 5 seconds away from 3rd position. Here's the, no, it's not the leader, of course, it's the 2nd car in the team. The 93 coming in with that damage. And this might be just the drive-through for the unsafe release. The similar coloured car, grey and green, out on the far side of the circuit, coming down through the Jean de Bihan bends, named after Olivier Jean de Bihan, famous Le Mans pilot and winner of the 1962 Le Mans race with none other than Phil Hill, if memory serves, and that was a particularly significant race. It was the last time it was won by a front-engined car outright. Audi off at turn number 7, and that was the number 10 Audi. They've had an interesting day already, having dropped a little further back down the Nairwood like. That was Kieran O'Rourke, who's been involved in a couple of things. He was sitting in 10th position in class. He's let at least a couple of people, I think Nick Gallant was one of them, coming back through the field. I think Gavin Ernstone was in that as well. He's gone off at turn 7. He'll get back home from there, but he's a bit more dusty than he would have liked. Now, James Clare in the pits. And in fact, both the BMWs, Robbie Foley and James Clare, coming into the pit lane. So go down and pick up the Turner Motorsport stop.
There is a driver change, so Robbie Foley now getting out. Full service for Michelin's Fuel is Bill Oberlin, the BMW man of, I don't know how many decades, 3 decades, getting strapped in to this car. Talking to Bill this weekend, he had just so much joy in his voice. He said, I'm having more fun driving right now than I have ever had. He's driven every BMW that's raced, and he said, this is the time of my life. He loves coaching this next generation. He loves getting everybody up to speed, and he's ready for the race today. But I particularly like the sticker at the front. It says, we love tacos. Turner, I love tacos too. Shay?
Same, Jamie, and I could really go for some tacos right now as well. On the 82, the Bimmer World Motorsports BMW, it's been a long 6 weeks because in Daytona, they were the first car off the podium. Devin Jones and James Clay have had a long time to think about that, and James Clay is starting off strong here already in his first stint. They did fuel and tires and installed one D Jones. So, John, that means you're going to have one D Jones on the timing screen for now.
Yes, alluding to the fact that at various stages last year we had 2 D Joneses and 2 M Pombos at various stages last year. And
this year we got 2 D Murrays in the Prototype Challenge race, and it does make things rather complicated. So we've got a battle going on, by the way, now in TCR. The top 4 cars all of a sudden, pretty much nose to tail. Shelby Blackstock having moved up into 2nd position in car number 37. He's now right behind Britt Casey Jr. in car number 17. And Brian Henderson remains right there as well. And Mark Wilkins is closed in. So we've got a 4-car battle. It's now for 11th place overall, as we're sort of kind of halfway through almost the pit stop sequence.
Leaders are in the pit lane. 1st and 2nd have elected to come in with 1 hour and 11 minutes to go. End of the 18th lap. It'll be driver changes for both. Jimmy Howe.
And Tyler McQuarrie first to get out. It's number 39 Audi from Carbon Motorsports. If you're listening around the circuit and you say, what are these cars? Where did this team come from? Well, it's a new organization this season. Steve Dinan is the team principal. He was the engine builder for BMW and Chip Ganassi Racing back when they won at Daytona in 2011, 2013. A ton of experience, though new with this Audi R8, but the car looks beautiful. Obviously, it's very fast. Driver change now done, so Jeff Westphal has the belts on. 4 new Michelin's still going on the car, waiting on the fuel, but so far everything has gone to plan. Shay?
Fuel and tires for the 46 Team TGM Championship winning Mercedes. It is Trinkler out, Plum in, the combination that worked so well for them last year. And as a matter of fact, they feel like they have a bit of redemption to make up for this year, because their second to worst finish in 2018 came here at Sebring International Raceway. They are going to lose the lead though, because the Audi is down and away. Sorry, they're going to stay in second place, going back out of the pit lane. 2 new drivers in those 2 cars, and the battle resumes.
I think they're a little bit closer though as they go out the pit lane. There was about 10 cars lengths between the cars in first and second. There's barely a singles cars length now between the grey and green Audi and the grey, purple and blue AMG GT4 Mercedes. So they've rejoined now. That's left the Ford Mustang number 15 in the lead. No, it hasn't. It's left Jeff Mosing in the lead in the 56 Mercedes AMG GT. But he's due a pit stop shortly, of course. I'm trying to see who is the best place of the cars that have made their pit stops. By the way, the TCR cars at the front of the field, still Casey Jr., Shelby Blackstone, as Brian said, just overtaken, as Jeremy said, just overtaken Brian Henderson in second, and Mark Wilkins in 4th position, the 98 Hyundai. Those guys are 6th on down overall now because of the fact they're going longer into the race. Right up on the tail of the R8 of Jeff Westphal, who's coming out on new Michelins, which are a little chillier than the well-worn 20-lap-old Michelins on the 2 TCR cars behind. 2 pairs of TCRs battling for the first 4 places. Looked to me as though the man having to defend slightly more was Brian Henderson. Mark Wilkins in that light blue Hyundai Veloster NTCR at Brian Herter Motorsport was very aggressively moving around behind the 3rd place Honda in TCR, but the leaders are on the back straight in the TCR class. There's a bit of a draft coming for the 2nd place car, and it's side by side behind as Mark Wilkins has pulled out to driver's right. He's going for 3rd position but has to give best, and at the front the 37 drops back in behind the leader, so no changes there before these cars have to come in for their pit stops. We've got a few more laps of this. There'll be a penalty for the Ford Mustang. Grant Enfinger now in that car. They ran over part of their pit equipment, so that's going to take that car out of the fight for the main battle at the front of the field. And while we wait for the next piece of action to unfold with pit stops for GS well underway, let's go down to Jamie, who I think can give us a word with Tyler McQuarrie.
Tyler right now debriefing with his teammate Mike Siegel. What was it like out there? It was a little bit of an inspired restart for you, overtaking.
Yeah, you know, coming into the race, we knew we were good on long runs. The Michelins have been awesome. So I was anticipating kind of just sitting where I was at and try and get up to the front a little later. And, you know, I think they got a good start. I don't think the McLaren got a great start, so it kind of put me into that 2nd spot. So just kind of sat there, and Owen made a little mistake in the hairpin down there that gave me an opportunity to get in front of him. And then from then on, we got that restart, and I was able to just manage the gap because he was much better through the first half of the track, through 1 to like 5. So I just need to manage that gap to where he couldn't take advantage of that opportunity there. But all in all, was good stint, saved the car. Jeff's out there, we had a great pit stop. So it's up to him now.
It's a pretty good amount of track time between the promoter test day, the practice sessions, and qualifying. How much did all of that translate to the conditions that you have for the race?
It helped us a lot because, again, like I said, we're good on long runs, and so we tried working on getting the car up to speed a little bit faster, and that proved to help. And so all the hard work over the last couple of days from Carbon Motorsports has paid off, and our Audi R8 is running great.
All right, it was a great pit stop, just like you said. Do one more?
What's that?
One more pit stop?
Yes.
All right. Thank you, Tyler. Nice job.
Well, the question is one more or two more, depending on how the tyres are going. They'll be looking at that. Fuel-wise, shouldn't be an issue to go one more. And they'll be having a look at what they have seen with the tyres that have come off. This TCR lead battle, Jeremy, is an absolute belter, you know. Down in turn 17 at the moment, looking to our left as they come on to the start-finish straight. It's for third overall now, Britt Casey Jr., Shelby Blackstock, and actually Ryan Henderson's not that far away either as they go down to turn 1. Right ahead of them is Hugh Plum, who stayed in second position after the pit stops have shaken out for GS. And Jeff Westphal has taken over the number 39 Audi, and he leads. So first 39 Audi, we've just heard from those guys. Let's go to the 46 pit. Hugh Plum now in the car. That means Owen Trinkler, who put the car on pole position and had led the race early on, can talk to Shea Adam.
Owen, you said it's pretty good, so you don't really mind. We just heard from Tyler McQuarrie and his side of the story. He said you made a little mistake, opened up the door, and he went through. You were more than happy to sit there, though, because the race isn't won on lap 3.
No, I mean, Joe Varney coaches you and I about what we need to do. Yeah, our car, it just takes it a couple of laps to come in on the front, so I just drove it in a little bit too deep at the hairpin, but I was fine letting him lead there. I mean, I was just kind of pacing myself a little bit. I feel like I could reel him in when I needed to, and then just kind of just sat there and ride, conserve the car, try to save a little bit of fuel as much as I could, but the car's really good. He was going to do a great job today. TGM, what can I say? I mean, it's like when we qualify on the front row, good things are going to happen because we look for long runs, and the car's really good. And got to say hello to my family. They're here today, and my youngest son's back home, but I'll see him when I get back on Monday. But it's just what a great day to be here at Sebring and see if we can pull it off today.
You had a winning car in 2017 in the ST class. Do you have a winning car today?
Yeah, if we qualify up front like we've done in the past, we've got a really good race car. It's really good over the bumps, and Hugh's going to do great, and let's just see what happens here with the strategy. It's tough on us a little bit. If we get a bunch of yellows at the end, it's going to be tough because we just don't have the mid-range power of some of the other cars with the BOP that we've got with the boost in the car. The AMG GT4 is doing great, but we just got to get some help in the BOP. If we go yellow a bunch, we need to go green the rest of the way, and we'll be fine. So the car's really balanced, and he's going to do a great job, and see what happens here at the end.
It's St. Patrick's Day. We're hoping for a lot of green this weekend. Thanks, Owen.
Yeah, it means a lot to me. This is the last place my dad saw me race in 01, and he passed away in 03 on St. Patty's Day, and I won here in 17, and so it means a lot to me, this place, and I love coming here, and so maybe he's watching up above and give us another win here today would be really cool.
Let's raise a glass to those not here this weekend, no doubt about that. An hour and 2 minutes to go. It won't be long before we start the TCR scheduled pit stops. There have been a few unscheduled ones. They've cycled through to third and fourth, those two leaders, Britt Casey Jr. and Shelby Blackstock in the Audi and Honda respectively. David Hobbs has joined us. Mr. Hobbs, how are you?
Oh, very well, thanks, John. Extremely well. Very happy to be up here too.
Now, about a year ago, you and I were talking here because your book Hobbo had just come out, and we were talking about how excited we were about that. Just take a break in a moment as we've got a little bit of rubbing is racing going into turn 3, and that's for a significant position. That is 7th and 8th in the GS category. Paul Holton and Christian Hohenadel, and Hohenadel has gone through.
Boy, that was all very exciting, much more exciting than my book, that's for sure.
I don't think that's true, actually. I hear your voice in every word of that book, which I've read at least a couple of times now. It's been on sale for a little while, about a year now. How's it gone?
Well, it's doing very well. I'm down in the Gallery of Legends on the infield here in the paddock, trying to sell some more today, so it's going pretty well. And yes, it's called Hobbo, Motor Racer to Motor Mouth. My youngest son, Guy, who you all know, thought it would be better to be called Gas Pedal to Gas Bag, but the publisher thought that was a bit too much. So, but it's going pretty well.
Did you strike him off your Christmas card list after that?
Even his mother thought that was a bit rich.
A bit harsh. bit harsh.
Yeah, but
still enthused about motor racing. You're here again this weekend. I know you're at Amelia Island, I think, a week or so ago. We watch racing, as we're seeing now in the Michelin Pilot Challenge here. These production GT cars have really taken off the last few years and provide great entertainment as Trent Hinman in the Volt Racing number 7 Porsche tries to make up a position on the 65 Morsing Motorcars.
Of course, I've known Trent since he was a little boy, because he used to race against my grandson Andrew in go-karts up in Wisconsin. And Trent has done extremely well and made a great career for himself, and is a terrific driver. And he's always there to get stuck in. And boy, oh boy, these production GT cars really do put on a heck of a show.
And Trent, one of a growing number of a new generation of American road racers in the broadest sense of the word, and very many of them carving out a good career driving GT cars, not just here in the States, but getting an international reputation as well. And that's good for the sport here, is it not?
Oh, very good for the sport. Yeah, we you know, I mean, obviously I did the Formula 1 coverage for so many years, and our biggest, what's going to go on down here?
Mustang down the inside of Trent. Can he hold the big banger back? The slightly more svelte Porsche, still with a 6-cylinder engine, that's 718, but can't hold the inside over the bumps at turn 17.
That's a heck of a turn, that 17. It's just, it's a real ball breaker, and you go in, oh my God, here they go. This should be good going into turn 1.
And that's the core racing car in there as well, the number 60. These guys all battling for position.
Woo!
That's a touch there, I think. Bit of trading of paint.
David, this wasn't like it wasn't like this in your days, was it?
No, he would have had him off there.
Yeah.
Almost there.
Try that again.
Is this the natural successor, though, David? If we think about your day, is this a natural successor to taking the little Lotus like you did and putting it on a trailer and going round Europe and going racing?
Well, that's the thing. I mean, we race things like Lotus Elites, MGAs, MG Sprites, Austin Healey Sprites. These are pretty big, fast cars. I mean, this is some power here, some serious power out these cars. A lot of grip, much bigger tyres than we always used to have. So these are pretty serious racing cars. And looked like Trent finally got dropped by the other duo there. So now this Mustang's going to be catching up on him.
Yeah, the 22 Motorcraft car, classic colours there. In your day, of course, there was far fewer cameras in race control, so you probably could have got away with a bit more.
There was no cameras and there was no TV, which is why we all made only about 4 bob a week.
Yes, but what there was there was appearance money for cars in those days.
There was,
you could make not a lot of money, but it could be a cost travelling around Europe if you lived carefully.
I remember talking to the owner of Mallory Park, and we'd tried to squeeze him up from 15 to 25 quid for a starting money for the Lotus Elite, but he would begrudgingly give it you in the end. And I won a couple of races there, so then he had to give it me then. So
yeah, but
his prize money was more or less
cost
zilch.
About 10 bob to fill the car with fuel in those days. 10 shillings, that is.
And Dunlop, of course, used to give us tyres or a very, very big discount. Oh, Trent's hanging on to these two.
At the head of the field, by the way, is still Jeff Westphal in the 39 Audi, and he's just pulled away a little bit from Hugh Plum in the last couple of, in the early part of that stint, but is Hugh coming back at him now?
No, but yeah, I mean, barely a second between the two of them. I mean, since around the pit stops, they've been pretty much nose to tail, those two. They came in, maybe there was a second and a half between them before the pit stops, but since then it's pretty even Stevens between those two. But the guy in third place is Devin Jones in number 82, Bimmerworld BMW. He's just reset the fastest lap of the race. He's done it twice over the last 3 or 4 laps. That's a new lap record, 2:11.945.
Wow. Not hanging about.
Wow.
It's not. The old record by here, the race lap record, was 13.2, so 1.3 seconds underneath the old lap record.
I can't believe Hugh Plum is still doing this. I covered Hugh Plum on ESPN with Bob Varsha, and that must be 20 years ago. He's still going.
It's a good job he can't hear you at the moment. I think he'd be delighted.
And he won the championship last year, David.
Yeah, he won the championship last year with young Owen Trinkler, another highly experienced driver in this form of racing. Just starting to get some TCR pit stops now, including the number 17, which was the leading car. Mikey Taylor's jumped into that and rejoined, so he will have dropped down, I think, to 3rd position in TCR when that all shakes out. But the 2 cars ahead, the Honda Civic number 37 of Shelby Blackstock was in 2nd, now leads. Mark Wilkins up into 3rd at the moment in the 98. That's the light blue of the Hyundai Velocitors. he's in second, but that's all about to change. Here comes Blackstock in the LA Honda World. Honda Civic, and Shea Adam will watch this stop by Lewis Percarpy's team.
Ladies and gentlemen, might want to take a couple of steps back from the fences because Tom O'Gorman is going to be getting behind the wheel of the car that won at Daytona, the opening round, and thus the championship leaders. That would be the 37 LA Honda World Racing. And John, you rightly say it's Luis Percarpy's team, and his parents are here because they live down in Miami, so they made the drive up, and they are watching their son's team only for the second time ever. They're up on the pit box watching this perfectly executed stop, changing the front tires as Shelby is out of the car, having a little bit of issue trying to get the window net back into place, but now he manages to finally get it snapped in. And there are actually 2 latches that he has to have done. Now he's figured out the second one, made sure that Tom is happy, very casually shut the door. The team walking back around, there will be no rear tire change on this car, so only new Michelins on the front, but a front-wheel drive car, that's the ones that matter. They've taken the car off of the air jacks, just waiting on the fuel now, and there was a little bit of hesitancy when the fuel probe went in at the beginning of the stop. Now they're waiting, the fuel probe out on the left, out on the right, and Tom O'Gorman is gone.
Tom O'Gorman is
lost a little time getting going there, didn't he?
Yeah,
Tom?
just a
quite
day.
as quick as I would have thought. Actually, I'm surprised Lewis hasn't roped his father in to help during the pit stops.
Oh, we don't know he hasn't yet. Might be working on one of the other stands. Tom O'Gorman will take no time at all to get up to speed. This is the man who prides himself when he does qualify in taking as few laps as possible to take pole position, and we have seen him do it on one flying lap before and completely decimate the opposition. He's got this front wheel drive, heating up the tyres and getting the car to a balanced thing, off to an absolute fine art. He's very confident with the car moving around early, but he tends not to do that. The back end of the car seems glued to the ground. He's got a very specific way of driving to achieve that. 52 LA Honda World in as well. That's another one of their Hondas. It was Max Faulkner that brought that car in, I think. And Colin Mullen taking it out. Only front tyres for that Honda. And a full complement of fuel. That's white and yellow car rejoins. Now the leader is at turn 7, Jeff Westphal.
And the leader in TCR is on pit lane. That is that number 98 car. Did you just mention that?
Yeah, no, that's fine.
Right.
That's cycled around. That's Mark Wilkins.
That should be the last of the TCR cars, I think, onto pit lane.
Now, Shea Adam, one of the things that Brian Herter was telling us was they had to get used to doing pit stops and driver changes, because in the championship they won last year with the previous Hyundai model, the i30, it wasn't part of the racing series.
They've gotten used to it. That was a very spiffy tire change on the fronts. Again, only the front tires changed for this number 98 Hyundai Veloster TCRN. And it is Mark Wilkins to Michael Lewis. So that's a driver change in this car as well. The sister car is still expected. They finished the tires long before the fueling probe comes out. Just waiting on the fuel, as there is a purple number 1 illuminated on the side of the car. Won't be there when he goes back out on track. And the sister car is now in. Let's see, they are doing a driver change, and they are also only changing the front tires. A long time on this fuel.
Yeah, very long time. Still waiting for the car to drop down and go. And
still no signal from the fuel man that it is full. Now it's given. Mark Wilkins standing up on the wall looking at it going, what took so long? Well, and that's what I'm wondering too.
We've seen in the past year, haven't we, that some of the cars coming into the championship, and this is a brand new car at the championship this year, maybe don't quite optimise the way the cars fill. We saw it, if you remember, with the Porsche Caymans back in the day, and they were taking quite a long time to get the fuel in. They tried a couple of different ways of filling the car, moved the fuel filler as well.
Boy, that's something they need to look at, because that's a race killer right there. I mean, that was a long stop there to put fuel in.
Shea Adam.
And the 21, the sister car to that number 98 that had the very slow stop, did feel much faster, but unfortunately their driver change took longer, so they lost time because they were still with the door open.
Right, okay. Just lost the lead lap, that car, as through came Jeff Westphal and Hugh Plum. They're still battling for the lead. Now with just on 2 seconds, it's stabilised, as Jeremy said, at about 2 seconds. David Hobbs is with us with his book Hobbo. I'm not going to say the rest of it because I don't think it's fair. It's just Hobbo. We all know you as Hobbo. Formula One kicks off this weekend. a lot of change in the off-season
Well,
for a while, and Danny Rick selling merchandise by the cubic ton, apparently, black and yellow of Renault down there, and changes at Ferrari with new young talent to come in and play with Sebastian Vettel's mind as well. But it's still going to be Lewis Hamilton, isn't it?
Well, it looks like it after the first two practices. Obviously, the next practice will be at about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then qualifying. But Mercedes came away from the test in Spain, and everybody felt they were sandbagging, and it certainly looks like it from today's results. Now, there's a long, long way to go in this season yet, and a lot more practice and qualifying sessions to come. But there again, the two Mercedes were 1 and 2 in the second practice. But Max Verstappen is hanging right in there. I think the Red Bull this year could be a major threat, because Adrian Newey's car is just fantastic.
It's going to be fun to
just
watch.
a little bit more horsepower than last year. They could be right in the hunt.
Yeah, and they've changed their engine as well, of course, this year. David, always a pleasure to see you. When are we going to hear you again? Any plans to do some more broadcasting or anything else that'll get you in front of the public?
You can hear my dulcet tones in the Gallery of Legend downstairs, and I'll tell you all about it when you're buying a copy of Hobbo. But I don't have any plans for, well, TV World doesn't have any plans for me. I have lots of plans.
Oh! David, thanks for being with us. David Hobbs there, Hobbo from Motor Racing to Motor Mouth. It is the number 10 EU Reports Rover racing car that's gone in hard at a very fast part of the track on the far side. Full course yellow will have to come out, and does come out. Well, that is a very big accident for Lee Carpentier. We didn't think Lee was going to get in the car, because Kieran O'Rourke earlier on ground to a halt in that car. He clearly got it back and was off the pace in terms of the laps completed. Now, again, the question will be, did he jump or was he pushed? It was turn 17 again. We saw Michael Simpson going off there earlier on with a brake problem on his Audi, and that was lost fairly early on in the... No, he's just gone straight on. Tried to turn, realised he wasn't going to make it, flicked it back and sideways, but still got all the way to the concrete wall. That was actually a really good piece of driving by Lee to flick that car around to stop himself going straight in. I don't think he was slowing down there. That was either a stuck throttle or maybe some problem with the brakes, but flicking it round backwards puts a lot more car between you and what you're going to hit.
Yeah, it does. That was a scary accident. See how the wheels turning around here. The wheels are certainly turning around there. So
it's
I think
exactly
you're
the same as
right.
Michael.
You're absolutely right, no question. I would say that was some kind of a brake failure there on that car, and he's done a really good job. He's out of the car. It's good to see Lee
out of the car under his own steam.
He's a guy with a massive amount of experience. He's a long-time instructor with the Skip Barber Racing School. Absolutely,
he's
not
fuming.
A happy bunny.
He's fuming.
He's had no luck this season.
That's the actions of a man who I think realises there was absolutely nothing he could do there. You make a mistake, yeah, deal with it. But when it's something else, you can get very, very upset about things. Now, that car wasn't heading for a great result today with the problems that Lee Carpentier had already had. Now, believe it or not, he's climbing back in the car. Now, I'm not sure what he thinks he's going to do. No, yes, he is. Well, maybe he thinks he can get that car going again, or is he just going to help the marshals in terms of sitting behind the wheel? I just wonder, Jeremy, and this is speculation, if that car had a problem early on. Well, we know it had a problem early because it ground to a halt, didn't it? No, he's out of the car now. I would think he's probably just turning everything off, making sure he's all right. The HANS device comes out. The AMR medical team is on site already. Scary moment. Great to see that Lee got out of the car. These TCR cars look like hotted up versions of your shopping hatchbacks, but they are purpose-built racing cars. These are cars that were built from scratch as racing cars. They are not converted street cars, and therefore all of the latest safety thinking has gone into them. And that car actually looks in pretty good shape. Tyres may be an old-fashioned way of slowing cars down, but they dissipate energy, and they do still do their job when bundled up as they are at 17. Now, we saw Michael Johnson have a nasty incident earlier on at turn 17. That car is back on the pit lane. Meantime, bit of drama for the Compass number 75. I was just going to jump in the pit lane to give us an opportunity to have a chat with some drivers, but the Compass racing car, the McLaren number 75, there's another car that's clearly done a Control-Alt-Delete and now rolls again. What a strange day it's been. That is Paul Holton behind the wheel of that car. Jamie Howe is down in the pit lane. Chad Gilsing has had an eventful stint early on in his HART Honda. Fought his way up through the field, got turfed out to turn 3, and then fought his way back again, Jamie.
Yes, he said that this full course caution definitely good for them. It'll help bunch up the pack a little bit more, but when you're out there playing a little bit of a game of bumper cars, how do you manage that?
Yeah, it gets kind of frustrating because you work so hard to pick up those spots in the beginning, and then you have it all taken away and have to do it all over again. And with the heat and the way the track is, it's really tough to fight that hard for so long because, you know, you just wear out your tires. But the Michelins, they held on great. Actually, I think our car is really good, more for the end of the race than it is for the first part of the stint. We were struggling with some straight line speed in qualifying. We took a little bit of wing out of the car and actually all the wing out of the car and hoping for the best there. But I think it's actually freed it up enough to where as the track gets really greasy, it helps us a little bit. So this caution was a good thing for us. It bunches us back up, and I think Ryan's going to have a good run at it.
You took 2 years off from this series to race the NSX in the WeatherTech Championship. Coming back now with the class structure changing now, it just being GS and the TCR category, how does that change the way you race?
It's really not much different from when we left. So we didn't run when they had the 3 classes. So, you know, it's basically the same kind of thing, just different cars. Both classes of cars just kind of moved up a notch on the performance levels. We have aero on both cars to kind of play with now, where we didn't, you know, when we ran back in 2016. So it's still a little new to us, but it's a good progression from the NSX. I mean, obviously, you know, we loved running that car and hope to run it again, but Honda's got a great program with the new Civic Type R TCR car, and we're excited to be running that for them.
One of the best things about your team, Honda America Racing Team, is that everybody is an employee of Honda of America up in Ohio. To be able to come down here to Sebring, Florida this time of the year after all the cold weather, what kind of team building, what kind of camaraderie do you guys have on race weekends?
It's like a family, honestly. I've been working with some of these guys for over 15 years now, and we have some new guys who've only been on the team for a couple years, but we all gel well. We're all here for the same reason, because we love the sport. We love, you know, our company and our product. You know, and that's why Honda allows us to do this, because not only is it a good morale booster, but we learn when we're doing it. You know, we got a new president coming in with HPD, Ted Klaus. I actually worked with Ted on the NSX project. He was our, you know, head guy there. So, you know, it's really cool how it trickles down from the top, you know, to people just right out of college.
It's really cool. Chad himself, all the little kids listening around the racetrack. If you want to be a race car driver, that's great. It's an amazing goal to look forward to. But Chad is also a vehicle dynamics engineer as his day job. So there's a lot out there to get you involved in motorsports. Thank you.
A lot of pit stop opportunities coming in and being taken up. The leader, the number 39 Audi, came in. They did fuel and tires. It will be fuel and tires for the 4016 TGM Mercedes as well. But it will be a driver change for the number 2 Audi. That is the E-Euro Parts Rover racing car. Kenton Cook will be taking over this time, so your timing screens will not be deceiving you. Everybody up and down the pit lane is doing fuel and tires. The 82 Bimmer World BMW, as well as the 56 Murillo Racing Mercedes. The first car to get rolling again and easily into the lead once more is the number 39 Audi. Waiting for a second to come out, it's the 69 Mia car. The McLaren goes into second. Then third, the 97, the new Aston Martin. Fourth will be the 46 Team TGM Mercedes. 59 Mustang leads out the number 15 Mustang. 2 different teams, Core Motorsport leading out Multimatic. The 82 BMW is the next to roll. And then Trent Hidman in the number 7 Porsche. And then a plethora of Mercedes as 3 of them go past all at once. And all of a sudden, there's the Turner Motorsports BMW. Well down the field. Bill Oberlin's going to have a little bit of work to do to get back up toward the front. Still waiting on that 75 McLaren, though, John. That was the car that went slowly down the front straight. Looks like they're taking this opportunity to do some work inside the cockpit.
Yeah, they've got the engine cover off the back of that McLaren as well, the Compass racing car. And they've, oh dear, they've plugged in the laptop. They've got the little screen plugged in there. So that I'm going to suggest that's an electrical problem, but I don't honestly know. The number 10 EU parts Lee Carpentier-driven car is also being recovered in the aftermath of everything that has gone on there down at turn 17. That was actually more damage than I thought. It did move the tyres quite a bit. It went right to the gap in the concrete wall, actually, which I think may have helped him a little bit. But we've had the chance to see that a couple of times now, Jeremy, and it did look as though the wheels were still turning after Lee rather expertly just flicked it round with a deft touch of the steering wheel. It was going backwards into the wall. I have no doubt he had his foot on the brake pedal, but there was no hint of retardation there.
No, that's right. That was a really scary incident for Lee. Good to see him get out of that car. But that car is now considerably shorter than it was beforehand, and the back end is pretty much no more.
Well, with 40 minutes to go, start to distill your thoughts for our Spirit of the Race award, please. Forge Line Spirit of the Race this year in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. What we're looking for is your nominations and thereby votes for the team, entity, individual who, in your mind, has best displayed the spirit of endurance racing. The hashtag is ForgeLine SOTR. That's ForgeLine SOTR. And please tweet that to @IMSA Radio, and we'll try and get that announced for you before the end of the race. Otherwise, we'll get it tweeted out and make sure that the person who gets your votes, the most votes from you listening or watching, is duly notified. Hashtag ForgeLine SOTR. Let's go down into the pit lane. The number 75 Compass guys are working hard. Are they in line for the Spirit of the Race award for getting that car back out onto the track? Let's find out what's ailing the Compass Racing McLaren. Here's Jamie Howe.
Well, you were speculating that it was something in the electronics, and that is part of the problem. They said that it almost seems like something has been broken in the rear of the car since the race started, like it was broken before they even went to the green. So it hasn't been happy all race long, but the problem they're having right now is that as they're going around the track, the ESC, the electronic stability control, is kicking in. So it's making the car not undrivable, but perhaps unraceable. It's all about points right now. So if you're looking at the Spirit Award, they're thinking championship. They're thinking big picture. These championships come down to 1-2 points. They had to get back out there. They need to take the checkered flag, and they need to make up some ground.
Jamie Howe down there in the pit lane. Also trying to get to the bottom of why the number 60 Mustang dropped away. It was right up in the fight there. Cal Marcelli's just rejoined in that car and got back on the lead lap. They, I think, had dropped off the lead lap. They'd gone so far back.
The number 96 car, also for Turner Motorsports, that's dropped a long way back on this round of pit stops. That was right up in contention. It was in 5th place coming into the pits, but it is rejoined down in, well, 21st overall. There's a few TCR cars amongst them, but it's a long, long way back. And Turner Motorsports came in to this race with super high expectations. Bill Oblin now in the final 40 minutes of this race has got a lot of work to do. The timing of this caution, by the way, is pretty good for most of the teams, because this is just around about the sort of window of fuel they have in order to get to the end of the race without making another fuel stop. And for TCR, I think they're going to be good to go as well. So far as scheduled pit stops are concerned, apart from number 40 car, which elected not to come into the pits during this caution period, and therefore now leads the race overall, I think everybody else is going to have to, it doesn't need to stop one more time.
Of all the things I thought I might see around Sebring this weekend, just got a quick shot from our TV colleagues of a Bradford City shirt from the English Football League. Well, welcome to all of those of you who have travelled a long way today, either here in the US or from further afield, listening on 100.9 FM, IMSA Radio and IMSA TV together. RS2 is IMSA Radio. Before we go back to green, let's have an update on that Turner Motorsport car with Jamie Howe. Sorry, Jamie.
Well, the high hopes got a little too hot for Turner Motorsports. They're having a problem right now with the car overheating. They had to bring it in, try and cool it down, Control, Alt, Delete, send Bill back out. But a lot right now is they're just not 100% happy, obviously disappointed in the way that this race has unfolded.
Maybe the tacos were a little too spicy. for Turner Motorsport. I wish them the best with that. Bill Oberlin will do what he can to drag back some track position. 35 minutes to go, so inside the window here, Jeremy, to go to the end. So all the GS cars, in terms of fuel, if they've splashed, should be able to get to the end of the race.
Yeah, and Jade Buford in number 40 car, he's just come onto pit lane, but
this is the last time for the cars that were last lap down to come in before they. I think
why is he so far ahead of the safety car? That's what I can't quite understand. I'm sure he might have done something a bit naughty there.
93 and 8 came in at the same time, the two Audis, Gunnar Jeanette and Tom Dyer. Big incident, and that's why we're under full course yellow at the moment for the number 10 of Lee Carpentier. Kieran O'Rourke had problems with that car early on. It had rejoined. Big damage to the back of that car. The whole of the boot, the trunk area on that Audi RS3 TCR flattened in, and it now looks like it's the hatchback version. Very odd incident, arriving at turn 17, getting ready to turn in. You brake very late there, even in a TCR car, but there was no hint of the car slowing down, and thought that he might be able to make the corner, started to turn right, and then flicked it around to go in backwards, but still had a long way to go before he hit anything, and the wheels were still turning. I did think I saw part of the rear suspension already tucked under before he hit the wall, and Michael Johnson's car, remember the 54 car, she's saying that it was at the back of that car that she'd seen the part of the suspension had come into contact with a brake line, so maybe something to be looked at there. But it will be, because Audi support all of their customers, whether it's TCR, GT4 or GT3. Back in for the 75 car, not even a full lap. So are they going to plug the computer in again with that car? Maybe they are. This is bad news for Compass Racing.
Yes, but he is still on the lead lap at the moment. They've got a little bit of time here, because the safety car is still really at the other end of the racetrack, so they've got a minute or more probably to try and diagnose what that problem was. We've got a lot of newcomers here amongst our crowd here this weekend, and if you're wondering why there's various cars overtaking the safety car and other cars under caution period, you might know enough that when there is safety car is out there is no overtaking. But what is happening here is that the cars mainly in the TCR category, well, first of all, we have a class split before the restart. So all the GS cars will move ahead of all the TCRs. So the TCR cars in their category will slip behind. We saw some cars overtaking the safety car a little while ago. Those were TCR cars that were still on the lead lap so far as the TCR leader is concerned, but they had been trapped behind the safety car. Not their fault, so they were able to cycle around past the safety car and move up to the back of the field in TCR. So we've now got 9 cars in TCR that are still all on the lead lap. But the curious thing here is that the number 40 car, I think, has possibly taken an illegal wave around, has made his pit stop, which he needed, but he's still in the lead of the race, which is not where he should be, I think.
Jamie, before we go back to green, more cars with problems in the pits.
Oh, well, we had high hopes for the number 7 with Trent Hinman behind the wheel. Alan Brynjolfsson already did his stint, brought the car home clean, but they're having 2 problems right now. They've got some mechanical imbalance in the rear of the car that they're struggling with, but they also feel like they're down on power. Perhaps they're losing the engine. It's just bad to worse.
Thank you, Jamie. Back to green flag racing, half an hour, a little bit more than that still to go. The green flag is in the air. And once again, the Audi jumps away, but this time it's got behind it one of the McLarens, but that's a lapped car, so it's still Jeff Westphal. Well, the Ford Mustang.
The McLaren's not a lap down, it's in second place. The Aston Martin is a lap down.
The Aston's a lap down, sorry, yeah, absolutely. But that Ford Mustang there, the number 40 with Jim Buford at the wheel, scored in the lead of the race.
And way ahead of everybody else. I think he's probably going to get a penalty by my reckoning, because he was on the lead lap and he therefore should have moved up right behind the safety car, but I think he must have overtaken a safety car to come into the pits, make his pit stop and get out again, and that's a no-no. So I think he's scored in the lead at the moment, but I don't think he'll be scored there for very long. But some fabulous battling going on in the field. There's Scott Hargrove. Whoa.
That's going to be problematical. And the 22 Motorcraft Ford has gone around, got some help there. How nobody else hit them. And here come the TCR cars, 3 wide into corner number 7 as well.
Was in 9th position, by the way, was kind of a 22 before that spin.
Jeremy, you were spot on. The 40 Ford improper final wave by stop plus 4 minutes and 24. Sounds an odd number, but that's all about how much advantage they gained, and there's a multiplier on that. And the assistance from behind the wall for car number 98. So that's going to get a drive through as well. Oh my goodness. Restarts, starts and restarts, always the dangerous time. There are times that you can make up huge amount of space, of course, places, of course, because people are there. But my goodness me, you need to have your wits about you.
I think we've got somebody who'd probably be rather here than there at the moment.
Shelby Blackstone has joined us out of the LAP Honda, with the leaders going down to turn 17. Typical Michelin pilot restart there, Shelby.
Absolutely, it's absolutely chaos out there. I mean, it's the biggest chance for everybody to get a jump in their position, and looks like we and Tom O'Gorman took advantage of that, and we jumped to the lead on that restart. So always chaotic, but really,
17 again. It's the 15 Mustang being in the wars, gone around, and I think got a little help there as they were going in. You're so committed going into 17, Shelby. There's literally no room to manoeuvre. If you get pushed even half a car's length off, as he was trying to go past the Wins Mercedes there, AMG GT4, and people might think, well, why didn't he just slow down and stop? Why did he drive straight into the tyres? But you're just so committed at that point.
Absolutely, and the biggest thing is the curbs here on the last corner in turn 16 are actually very, very, very abrasive, so that actually pushes the pads back in the brakes. So going down into 17, you're turning while braking, and you're at top speed there. And if you get offline just a little bit, especially this late in the race, which I found a couple times, you get right in the marbles, and it's near impossible to stop after that.
So even in a relatively short race, a 2-hour race, the marbles, the pieces of tyre that are thrown off the Michelin slicks, that's already noticeable, is it?
Oh, yes. I mean, even through practice and everything, we noticed it. And in qualifying, my last qualifying lap, I had the same issue. I mean, it's one of those corners you kind of give and take, and it takes hard when you get it wrong.
Bit of the Mustang has remained at the scene of the crime. Mustang has made it back into the pit lane, and that was Ben Rhodes who went for that wild ride there. Interesting what Shelby was saying there, Jeremy, about the rough curbs at 16 at the Le Mans corner onto the back straight, because we've seen a couple of TCR cars just not slowing down there at all. So how can you combat that? When you say the pads are pushed away, they're pushed away from the disc, from the rotor. So what happens is you go to the brake pedal, and the pedal goes deeper than you expected, or sometimes all the way down. How can you mitigate that?
Absolutely. I mean, a lot of guys, what they do, and it's also different by car. Our Honda car never ever had that, but in the previous cars I've driven, you've had to pump up the brakes as you go down to the corner just to make sure they're there and close that gap from the pads to the rotors. It just kind of gets into a habit. That's a lot of guys are doing this, especially in the GT4 cars. They might have a little bit more problems with that than we have in TCR. But yeah, it's definitely an uneasy feeling when you go into a corner at max speed, 160 miles an hour, hit the brake and nothing's there, and you have to pump up the pedal a couple times to actually get the car to stop.
Shea Adam from the pit will give us an update on that number 15 Mustang.
The slogan is built Ford tough for a reason, and this Ford left-hand headlight more is squinting at us now. The real concern is that the left front bodywork is pressing up against the left front Michelin tire. They took the old one off and they put a new one on, but it is very sharp little bits of plastic and carbon that the team is now trying to hack away to try and get the car back out. But the bottom of the splitter on the left-hand side dragging on the racetrack as well. This is a car that, if it finishes the race, will be a one-eyed monster.
Thank you, Shea. At the front of the field, Hugh Plum having to defend. Now down into third position. He's been hit. Oh, that was a low percentage move by both drivers there. Big dent in the right rear quarter panel of the 46 car, sitting in a third position. And it was Kenny Wilton that was right in behind him there. Jesse Lazard already gone by him in the other Mercedes, the 69 car, and now, poor Hugh, well, he's got out to the firing line, but I don't think he's quite got the car where he'd like it because he's right on the inside. Shelby Blackstock is with us. How do you see this one?
It's just kind of one of those late percentage moves. Wilden looked like he was going to go for it, and then Hugh blocked. He put on a little bitty block, but it was just enough. They're already in the brake zone. It's very, very bumpy corner going down into 7. So once you're fully committed, it's one of those deals. It's really a big shame for Hugh.
Do you see that as a racing incident? And I mean, the stewards will look at it, the race directors will look at it. Is that a racing incident? Is it 50-50? Who is likely to get called for that, if either?
I have to say it'd probably be a penalty in the eyes of the stewards here. But the biggest thing is, it's a bigger thing, the fact that they were the leaders.
Yes.
That's always a bigger thing. If you're ever taken out from the lead, you're kind of, it's hard. It's a hard call.
Yeah, that was a battle for third place, and Hugh he was challenging the race-leading Audi 39 earlier on, but after those pit stops, he came out behind, and he was trying to make up. So, well, he was falling back a little bit, but he was under intense pressure from Kenny Wilden. That's a great shame. Kenny Wilden, great to see him back in this sport.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because he's a former champion in this sort of series. He's a really good guy. He won't like what happened there.
No, he's not that type of driver. You're absolutely right. Shelby Blackstock is with us to give us a little bit of driver's eye view as we had in the last 25 minutes here. GS GT4, Shelby, performance balance of performance category, formula, the world over. But that doesn't mean all the cars circulate at the same part of the circuit at the same speed. You mean your lap speed in different ways. Does that mean you've got to be very decisive when you're making an overtaking manoeuvre? If you've got an advantage somewhere, you've got to make it pay.
Absolutely, and that's the biggest thing in all classes I found in the IMSA series is it's always you're always good at one part of the racetrack and you're always terrible at the other. And always the car you're racing with is always better at your worst part too. So it's one of those things, and that's what makes the racing so incredible in this series, to where you're just constant battle, you're always all over each other, and someone really has to make a mistake in order to get by. That's the biggest thing.
Is this the big boys version of spec karting in some ways? That, you know, it's about being able to repeat and carry speed and carry speed and carry speed.
Yeah, the biggest thing is consistency. Consistency is basically what makes the best race car, and with our car today, that's kind of how we stayed up at the front. Is our car didn't have the greatest start speed, but through the course of the run, it stayed the same, which was really, really good. And that's what you have to have in this series. These races are so long, so competitive. No mistakes, and a consistent, fast car is the biggest thing. Right,
so we're heading in the last 23 minutes or thereabouts. And at the front of the field, Jeff Westphal still leads from Jesse Lazar in the 69 McLaren. So Audi and McLaren, mid-engined cars, of course. Then it's the American muscle of the Mustang, the number 59 car of Kenny Wilden, who's just been involved in that little bump and run down at turn 7. Then Devin Jones in the 82 BMW M4 GT4. So that's European muscle, if you will. And they're side by side coming out at turn 17 as well. This will, of course, slow them down as they try to chase down the leaders. The Mustang looks very good and very poised over the bumps, but the BMW is quick in a straight line, comes to driver's right, swings across to try and get a better run through turn 1 as they head onto another lap. The leaders have already gone through. Oh, I tell you what, the Mustang looks good, Jeremy, but what I see, it looks good over the bumps, but what I see, and Shelby, I'll be interested to hear what you think about this, the Optima Batteries BMW fighting for third position, currently in 4th, seems to be able to be driven in different parts of the track. That would suggest to me that that car has got a little bit better tyre left on it and is able to pick a line a little more.
It also goes back to setups also. I mean, the Mustangs have always driven the exact same way. You really have to drive up to their likes, and that's the only way those cars are fast. The BMW, same thing, different characteristics. So it drives a little bit different. It has different strengths and different weaknesses. So that's, again, what makes the racing so great.
And a pit caller, Scott Hargrove, coming in. Jeremy?
He got all the way up to 5th position in that FAF Porsche Cayman. I think he made his final pit stop, so that's a great shame for Hargrove. He was absolutely flying.
That looked like it may have been a tyre being changed. Adam?
Left front by my reckoning, and they are now going to do the right front as well while they've got the opportunity. But yeah, he came in very, very slowly, immediately on the pit lane speed limiter, crawled into his box, and the left front tire that came off the car is not as it was when it came out of France.
Thanks very much, the 59 and 46 incident under review. That was the Kenny Wilden and Hugh Plum down at turn 7 at the hairpin. The Mustang and the BMW still absolutely at it. Here comes the 15 Mustang. That's been in the wars as well. That's back on the pit lane with more gaffer tape than bodywork showing at the front. BMW gets a run down the inside. Driver's right into turn 17. This is brave to go around here side by side. Watch out for the bumps, lads. That can move the cars around. But through goes the number 82. Fantastic stuff from Devin Jones. Now, can he hold on to it? Mustang drops straight in behind the bright red car of Kenny Wilden as they go down to turn 1. Those two front-engine V8s in clear air at the moment, but they have been slowing themselves down. Kenny doing a bit of defensive driving, sitting down the insides into corners, perfectly legal. Now he has a little look on the left-hand side of the BMW. Can't get that done. This is not over yet, I feel, Shelby, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, Devin's doing a great job. I think he might start pulling away here. He just set the fastest lap of the race with the GT4 class, so really driving really good. Car looks really planted, and it was a great battle.
Into third position then for Devin Jones. Very consistent driver, able to pull the pin here. He might just be able to get a gap, and indeed he's building that up. Now, remember this, dear listener and viewer, about 7.8 seconds between him and the battle for the lead with just under 20 minutes to go, Jeremy.
Yeah, and that gap has been going out, even on that lap, having got past the number 59 car last time around. The gap went out by 3/4 of a second on that last lap, so he's got a lot of work to do if he's going to catch these two, but it's a good battle for the lead between number 39 and number 69. Both of these teams looking for their first victory in the Michelin Pilot Cup Challenge.
The battle for the lead, however, is by no means settled. Jeff Westphal, he took the car over from Tyler McQuarrie, affectionately known as McQueff, that team. Sounds like some kind of celebrity union. The Porsche is back out again. He's got Hargroves at it, still got his four-way flashes going on as he goes down to turn 17 in front of the leaders. It's very tight between these two. I get the feeling that the Audi might just have a tiny bit of an advantage on the straight. It's quite unusual because the McLaren's normally fast, but the McLaren is really taking a lot of speed through the centre and off the corner, Shelby.
Absolutely. I mean, both cars look like they're handling the bumps incredibly well, and that's the biggest thing here, how you have to be fast. I mean, with our car, personally, that's the one biggest thing. We just handle the bumps extremely well, and that's always been Sebring's biggest thing. And
is that just a simple old-fashioned way of slackening everything off and trying to make it a little bit compliant? Because I presume you can go too far if you do that.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. We've thrown everything at this 37 LE Honda World car right now, and right now, I mean, Tom and I are not super happy with the balance. Obviously, it's fast because Honda and Jazz has given us an incredible race car right out of the gate. The car is extremely fast, been in the top 5 in all the sessions we've ran, and now, I mean, we have but 2 Hondas in the top 3, and that's incredible. But yeah, going back to the bumps, it's the biggest thing here, and that's what makes a good race car and a bad race car.
That's the 37 leading at the moment with Tom Gorman, the car that was handed over to him by our guest analyst here, Shelby Blackstock. 89 Hart car has fought its way back up to third position. Remember, that car was turned around in the early part of the race when Chad Gilsinger was at the wheel of that car. Oh, that was 98, sorry, got them mixed up, same colour schemes. But Ryan Eversley doing a grand job there. Looking further back down, the Alpha's still running.
Shelby, you've raced and won in GS class cars before. How much fun are these TCRs to drive?
Oh, it's incredible. It's a different class, same animal. It's just absolute chaos in the start. The only thing is, since they're so low horsepower and it's such a more, I don't want to say tightly group of cars, but it's just constantly battles all through the class, and even on the start, everybody's racing hard, but everybody's racing consistent also. So I mean, it's racing. I mean, that's why we're here. We love racing, and no matter what class it is, whether it be a golf cart going through the paddock, if you're racing that, you're having fun. So
I'll remember that when I'm on the golf cart in the paddock. Yeah. I keep my eye open for you. Great to see the Alfa up in fifth order. Just as I mentioned, he hooks a wheel coming out of turn number 10 and almost gets it into the wall. Fortunately, I've got to say, very fortunately, Alex Popper remembers he's in a front-wheel drive car. He just drifted a tiny little bit too far to the left as he came around the right-hander at 10, and the left rear Michelin just hooks over the curb. It pitches him 45 degrees sideways. The worst thing he could have done there was to lift off. He floored the throttle and steered the way he wanted it to go. Almost the exact opposite of what you would normally do when you were sliding. The first instinct there, Shelby, is to lift off. If he'd done that, he was gone.
Oh, absolutely. Especially for me, driven all rear-wheel drive cars my entire career. When I first came to the Ellie Honda team, and this is my first front-wheel drive, yeah, it's a huge thing to switch your brain over when you're in a huge tank slider, and basically you're having the worst moment of your life. And just put your foot down all hard on the gas, not really comes the first thing to mind.
No, absolutely not when you're careering towards a wall that looked very, very... Oh, he's sideways again in that car, Alex Popper. Now, I wonder if he's done some damage. I wonder if he's done some damage to that Michelin tyre on the left rear when he hooked the curb. Let's see how he goes. Maybe it was just dirty. It could have been that as well. So he's leaning on it there. We've got 15 minutes left to go. The Forge Line Spirit of the Race Award will be voted by you. Jeremy, any thoughts as to who has done the job? The Alpha team's done really well to get that car back up through the field.
Yeah, particularly after all their problems earlier in the weekend, they've done a super job. But I'll tell you what, the one guy I was watching here was Dylan Murray. We haven't really talked about Dylan. In car number 35, that's that Wins Mercedes. He's up into 4th place. Really good first stint by Jim Cox in that car. His best stint by far. He's not done many races in this championship. These two shared a Porsche last season, a Porsche Cayman last season, and Jim is from Nokomis in Florida, so relatively a local driver, but he's only had 11 starts in the championship prior to this weekend. He had a really good first stint, and Dylan Murray, who drove a great race also in a prototype challenge race yesterday to finish among the top 5, a great debut in that level of a car, is up in a 4th position in car number 35.
Jamie Howe has a nomination for the Forge Line Spirit of the Race.
I do. I'm going to give my vote to Hart, the Honda of America racing team, just because I believe that they embody everything that sports car racing is about. The team members, they're all volunteers. They work in the factory during the week. They know these cars on the inside and out. They develop them, and then they bring it to the racetrack, to the fans, to the people, and they race it. They show what it's capable of. Today, they struggled a little bit in the early, and they've been able to scratch back up in line for a podium. So they get my vote today.
I'm going to give my vote to the Carbon Motorsport Group because they have a car leading, but it hasn't been the easiest day for that number 93 car. It's the first race that they've run with 2 Audi R8 GT4 cars, one of them out front, the other one not quite out front, but they still have persisted with both cars, and there's something to be said for that.
Vote for one of those or nominate someone else. Hashtag ForgeLine, SOTR to @IMSA Radio. We'll let you know how the voting gets on before we go off the air, as voted by viewers and listeners of IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. The Forge Line Spirit of the Race Award, recognising the entity or individual who you think most embodies the spirit of endurance racing. 12.5 minutes to go. Battles through the field. Turner Motorsport BMW Spirit of any race award. Always a character there would be Bill Oberlin, and he's plugged into that car and driving that car back from early problems. It's not going to be getting a huge points haul for Will Turner and the rest of the 96 team, but you wouldn't think that the way Bill is driving it at the moment. What a role model for Robbie Foley and the other guys that he has mentored down through the years. At the front of the field, though, all of a sudden the lead has gone out. Jesse Lazare has dropped way back, dropped 3 seconds back.
Yeah, on that last couple of laps, the last lap in particular, he lost almost 2 seconds to the race lead. I don't think there was any major traffic issues for Jesse Lazare.
Well, I thought that McLaren was looking good at that stage, so if he made a mistake, got hacked up into traffic somewhere. His last lap was his last lap was a 14.3.
Carl Marcelli is doing a fantastic job. He's absolutely flying.
Carl Marcelli chasing down Dylan Murray.
Well, yeah, he's going to have to try to, but Dylan Murray, that's been a brilliant drive by young Dylan. It really has. He's made his way through some traffic here. When he came after this round of pit stops, where was he? He was in the 13th position. No, well, you know, after the TCR cars moved back, he was in the 9th position, up into 4th now, and he is chasing after Devin Jones. He's about 5 seconds behind Devin Jones, and not necessarily catching him, but it's been a really fine effort by the youngster from Atlanta, Georgia. And let's not forget, he's just 17 years of age.
Just going to throw in a thought for the 97 team. Brand new Aston Martin AMR Vantage GT4 car, the new Vantage. Rob Ecklund Jr. behind that car. Remember, that car was in the wall earlier on. They've managed to get that car back out. Doesn't look quite as pristine as when it was unveiled by Dave King earlier on in the week. But that car is back out and sitting in 29th overall. That's 20th in the GS category. You just can't afford to have a bad day. We saw it last year in the championship, didn't we? Volt Racing, they've had their troubles today. The number 7, the bright yellow Porsche, the new Cayman shape, the 718 Cayman, but still with a 6-cylinder flat 6 engine. Classic GT racing. The big banger V8 Ford number 40, about to go up the inside of that Trent Hinman driven number 7 car, or is it? They're not battling for position, there's laps between them, but that's the sort of pictures, Jeremy, that you and I have seen down through the years, whether it was Ford Mustangs or Ford Falcons and small middies, little Porsches battling huge V8 engines. This is the very essence of mixed category racing.
Yeah, we're inside 10 minutes to go now. The leader is headed on through turn 1 on lap 45, but now the gap from first and second over 5 seconds now. Jesse Lazare is really falling back, and he's only got maybe 8 or 10 car lengths ahead of the BMW of Devin Jones, who really is catching him hand over fist.
Shelby Blackstock is giving us a little bit of a driver's eye view as we move inside that last 10 minutes here. If you're Jeff Westphal at the moment, everything's looking good. He'd be noticing that the car that was behind him isn't. However, if you're Jesse Lazare, he might well be nursing a problem at the moment. Nothing worse at this part of the race to thinking, oh, I was on for a win and now I might not even hold on to a podium.
It's funny you say that, because our car is doing the same in TCR, so these under 10 minutes, my heart rate's starting to go up quite a bit. But yeah, the biggest thing is you're never safe in racing. Anything could happen out there, and that's the biggest thing. It's never over until it's over.
And in fact, I think there's a slow-moving Honda as the leaders have just gone through. Look like it might have been the 86 car, the blue, and
just letting traffic
by.
by.
Was he? He slowed a very long way down. It was very nice of him to do that. Yeah, Tom now has got just 4 seconds of a lead over Mikey Taylor in the number 17 Audi RS3 LMS TCR. But the battle for second position is pretty much on now. So Jesse Lazare, from looking great, 2, 3, 4 laps ago, that's all, has now just not got the pace in the McLaren. Now that might have been that he'd overworked his tyres. He may be battling another gremlin, we don't know. But that car does not have the look of a car that can be defended. I mean, well, I'm not sure that he's going to be able to hold on to that car.
No, you're right. I mean, that car, let's not forget, the McLarens have had 50 kilograms of weight added since Daytona. That's well over 100 pounds. That's a lot of extra weight to be carrying around. It's hot out there. This track is abrasive, Shelby. You know all about trying to save tires. You've driven these big cars. It's a challenge.
Oh, especially, I mean, 100 pounds in one of these cars, especially on this low, Sebring's a very low grip track. It's very hot. It's an old runway pretty much. So, I mean, to have that much weight added on, it looked like the car was really, really good, and you could really destroy the set of tires in about a lap here at Sebring. So if you don't look after them the whole time, ooh, it makes for a long race.
It does. There's not long to go in it, so he's not got that long to hang on, but just under 7 minutes remaining now. Is he going to be able to do that? That's a challenge now for Jesse Lazare in that MIA McLaren. Consistent laps by our race leader, Jeff Westphal. His last 3 laps, so 2 minutes 13.2, 2 minutes 13.1, 13.1.
And there goes second place. Jesse Lazare in the Mia McLaren was defending, but he's lost power, he's lost a gear. I don't know, Shelby, but I mean, he did everything right there. He didn't look like he made a mistake coming through Big Bend, But the BMW drove round the outside. Jesse went to the inside. You can't fault what Jesse was trying to do. He just didn't have the car.
No, it looks more now like a problem. It might be a straight line engine. It could be something else, but it just doesn't. When it went by, it didn't really sound right, and you can just see him pulling him every single corner. So that's really unfortunate.
Now the thing to do now is look back to Dylan Murray and Devin Jones, who were trying to chase them down. Dylan Murray and Devin Jones gone through. Yeah. Say again?
The number 3 Alpha in the pits, out of 6th position.
That was going so well. That was the Alex Popow car that got the lurid slide earlier on. Under 6 minutes to go. So Dylan Murray has gone in. Devin Jones has gone into second place. Dylan Murray is the next car up in the Mercedes, the number 35 Mercedes AMG, and he's got what I would normally say with 5 minutes to go is 4 seconds to make up. You know. But Jesse Lazar's lap times have gone out. He's losing 6-7 tenths every time around to the cars around him. I think he's safe unless it gets worse. Managing the gap at the front, Jeff Westphal, Tyler McQuarrie in before him. That's a strong team, Shelby. Those guys well matched, they know each other. Epitome of consistency, those two.
Absolutely, and consistency is really what makes everything in this series. That's what makes IMSA racing so competitive. You have to be consistent throughout the year. If you don't have the car for the day, it's better just to settle for the points.
Tom O'Gorman has found the sweet spot again and pulled out to over 5 seconds now on Mikey Taylor in second. The Honda Civic number 89, the Hart car of Ryan Eversley in third position. Osson Felipe is now in behind the wheel of the number 21 Hyundai Veloster. That's the black car. After the blue one was doing well earlier on, Michael Lewis now behind the wheel of the 98 has dropped away to 8th. Mark Wilkins had that car up in the top 6, but Brian Hurt at Autosport will be happier with that car this time around. They've had a little more time to get used to it. LAP Honda, the LA Honda World 37 leading. Shelby Blackstock was actually leaning forward listening there. That sounds sweet to me, that little
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, this is pretty rough to watch.
Oh,
this is way worse. This is
You'd
way
rather
worse.
be in the car.
Absolutely. I mean, we've switched around who starts, who oh, please stay on.
Oh, 23 racing to end Alzheimer's car. Now, earlier on, that car was backwards into the wall at turn 7. It was turned around by the team, but that was coming out of turn 1 and heading through into turn 2. And that was another lurid moment for a TCR car. And that's all 4 wheels onto the dirt. Now, it's the Patrick Pilet line from the big series. Patrick Pilet didn't quite go that wide, but that was his line for his fastest lap, believe it or not. Well, that car's had an interesting run, now lost part of the front of that car as well as getting banged up on the back. Shelby Blackstock, before we let you go and we head towards the checkered flag, you and Tom forming a good relationship?
Absolutely. I mean,
he's an animal behind the wheel.
Yes, absolutely. It's so funny how it's such a relationship. I mean, we all have our relationships at home and everything, but when you come here and you're sharing a car, it is a full-on relationship, driver to driver. And we're still in the dating phase. We're still trying to learn each other out and try to figure out what each other likes. And luckily, it's kind of been a shocker to where, like, okay, I like this. He's like, oh, me too. And so it's been really, really refreshing. It's been a joy working with them and LAP Motorsports and LA Honda World.
Does it help to actually do things away from the track as well, like go out for a meal and just hang out and have a chat about things not related to motorsport?
Absolutely. After Daytona, we went out and had a couple beers and just kind of learned each other. And then on the way to Austin, he stopped and stayed over at my place in Nashville. And again, just figuring out how each other works and what we like, what we don't like, and we're still learning. Even this weekend, we were like, "Hey, do you like this?" He's like, "Yeah." I was like, "All right, sounds good." So, and it makes it really good to work together, especially when we're sharing a car.
Right, get back down to the pits.
Perfect.
It looks
Thank
like
you
might
guys
have
for having
to
me.
Celebrate. You're welcome anytime. Shelby Blackstock, thanks for giving us some insight up here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV. Last 90 seconds, and the Tyler McQuarrie, Jeff Westphal partnership look to be heading to victory. All of a sudden, 5.5 seconds. Devin Jones in second position. It was pulled back a little bit, but I don't think that is an issue. Jeff seems to be managing things at the front.
And it'll be white flag next time around, so just one lap to go when he comes across the line to complete lap 48.
Let's see the third place car, Jesse Lazare. Well, his lead has gone down from nearly 5 seconds to just over 2. His gap from third to fourth place, and Dylan Murray is charging along. He was almost a full second quicker last time around. Number 12 Audi coming into the pit lane later on for Ryan Nash out of 7th position in TCR. And Alex Popauer's back out in the number 3 Alpha. White flag out, 3 3/4 miles to go for Jeff Westphal. And for second place, it's all closed. Check that for the deck back down the field for 7th place is what I was trying to say. Kenton Cook and Greg Leafuga absolutely together across the line. Cook on the inside, can he hold on to it in turn 1? He cannot. Oh, well, I'm not sure because the BMW's got a bit wide, but does get the pass done. And that number 2 just losing pace towards the end of the race. Quick update from the pit lane from Shea Adam.
Right front puncture for the Compass Racing number 75
Oh,
McLaren that wanted Daytona. They're not going to finish today.
Tight voting on hashtag Forgeline SOTR. Yours could make the difference at IMSA Radio. Hashtag Forgeline SOTR for the spirit of the race. Jesse Lazare now only a second and a half ahead of Dylan Murray. Murray pushing on. Is there a chance here? He's got him in sight. It's not a second and a half now. The Wins car can see his target. Lazare is a sitting duck from challenging for the lead with, 15 minutes to go, and he may not be on the podium halfway around the final lap. And we're hearing from the pit lane the issue is he is running out of brakes in that McLaren. Further round the lap, going through turn number 16 in about 2 seconds time, and on the back straight for the last time, the leader Jeff Westphal. Westphal has done a great job. Tyler McQuarrie early on, he's added his heft to this as well and done his part of the job. It will be a win in the second round of the 2019 Michelin Pilot Challenge for the 39 Audi team, and it's a new winner in this championship. They take their maiden victory and do it in some style. It'll be well over 6 seconds, I think, at the line. The interest will be for the third place on the podium. They come out in turn 17 almost together, but the McLaren somehow hangs on. Fabulous last lap by Jesse Lazare. I tell you, I would not put money on that. Audi, BMW, McLaren, 3 different manufacturers on the podium in TCR. Tom O'Gorman, teammate of Shelby Blackstop, who was our guest analyst here for the last half an hour or so of the race, is on the back straight now. Let's see this car home and then pick up some of the atmosphere from the pit lane. He's got just the final corner to go. Looked a little dodgy for a while for the LA Honda World Civic, but actually Tom has saved the best till last and put a couple of really decent laps in, and all of a sudden he's over 6 seconds to the good. The checkered flag is out, and it is a win for the Honda Civic. Let's go down the overall winners. Here's Shea Adam.
Tyler McQuarrie is one happy dude. Now, you've won in this series before, but it's been a little while, and this is an overall win. Does it feel even sweeter?
Yeah, you know, this team has been working so hard. It's our second year together, and, you know, we went into Daytona feeling really good, and just things didn't work out there, and, you know, we just kept on digging, and we know we had to get ourselves out of a little deficit we created there, but the car is so awesome, and, you know, I can't thank all these guys enough, and what a perfect way to thank them than go out there and just lead the whole race, win it. Jeff did an awesome job. The Michelins were awesome all day. The car never fell off, and, you know, it was just about managing the car, and we did it. I'm so happy for everybody.
Congrats, Tyler. Big party tonight, I'd imagine.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm on an airplane to Tahoe. I'm going skiing.
Well, there you go.
Well, you can tell them as well, Shea, that the Forge Line Spirit of the Race Award goes to that 39 Westphal Racing team. And the winning car, they have plugged away at this for quite some time. And That is a very good victory indeed. Confirming the results in the GS, the GT4 category. Westfall Audi number 39 wins it from the 82 BMW in second. The 69 Mia McLaren, Motorsport in Action McLaren, holding on to third position. And as far as the championship is concerned, Jeremy?
Well, unofficially, James Clay and Devin Jones will have 60 points. Jesse Lazare and Corey Fergus will have 60 points. So they'll be tied in the points. And the fact that James Clay and Devin Jones finished second today, they had a fourth at Daytona, compared to the two third-place finishes of the MIA team, will mean that on the tie break, it'll be the number 82 car that leads in the points, but tied with number 69 McLaren. That was a really fun race. Great result by this Carbine Autosport Peregrine Racing team. They've, as we heard from Jeff, from Tyler McCoy, they've worked super hard, and they've been very, very focused, and this is a very well-earned victory.
Yeah, the Carbine team taking the Forge Line Spirit of the Race Award as voted by you, the viewers and listeners to IMSA TV and IMSA Radio. TCR result, 37, Tom O'Gorman and Shelby Blackstock win for Lewis Paracarpi and for LA Honda World. Second position, Mikey Taylor brings home the number 17 Audi, and it's a second TCR Honda on the podium with the 89 Hart car. Ryan Eversley anchoring that car to the line. Hyundai get their best result since they've come into the championship, a fourth place for Masson Filippi in the 21 car, and then Colin Mullen chasing him down very closely at the end in fifth in the 52 Honda. The second of the Autosports Velocitas in sixth position, Michael Lewis bringing the car home after a very good opening stint by Mark Wilkins. To the winners, the spoils in the victory lane here at Sebring. Jeremy's just doing a quick bit of addition to the TCR category, and the 37 car may take some time to get back. I think he's run out of fuel on the slowing down lap. He has. That 37 car, Tom O'Gorman, that's how close it was. That's why he was managing the gap. Now we know Tom O'Gorman, I think, has run out of fuel on the slowing down lap. I better know someone who knows. That'll be Lewis Paracarpi, who is with Shea Adam now.
That was a hard-fought victory. Your parents here to see your team win number 2 in a row. You only need one car to win, but man, you guys pushed hard.
Yeah, I mean, the crew worked really hard, you know, all weekend long. This is my favorite racetrack. We won it last year with the minis, and you know, to come here again for a second time is awesome. It's amazing.
Solid points lead. Congratulations, Luis.
Thank you, Shay.
Has he run out of petrol? Is that what he said? No? Why is he sitting on the other side of the track then? Okay, thank you, Shay. TCR?
Yeah, it's had to go quite a long way down. Of course, Shelby Blackstock and Tom O'Gorman are perfect. 70 points, 35 each for 2 of their victories this season. Second place in points, I reckon, is the Hyundai Veloster of Mason Filippi and Harry Gottsacker. They finished 5th at Daytona, 4th today. They'll have 54 points to the 70 of Blackstock and O'Gorman. And then on 51 points would be Brian Henderson and Todd Lamb, who had some problems towards the end of this race, finishing 8th position. And then tied on 50 points apiece will be Nick Gallant and James Vance. And our third place finishers today, Chad Gilsinger and Ryan Eversley.
Well, it was a fuel issue for Tom O'Gorman at the end. That's why he was managing that gap. A problem in the final fuel stop. Final pit stop didn't get the fuel probe in quite as well as they thought, and they were all fingers crossed at the end there. Probably just as well Shelby Blackstock was up here and didn't know that then. In that case, or maybe he did actually, and maybe that's why he looked so worried.
Tell you what, I'm surprised he didn't sort of manage the gap a little bit more then towards the end, because he had a pretty handy lead over Mikey Taylor, 7 seconds between first and second in TCR, but he was still running pretty quick laps even toward the end.
Well, Jeremy, another great race for the Michelin Pilot Challenge in a field that keeps on adding depth as well as numbers. Drama right to the end there with the battle at the front of TCR, the battle for third in GS. No last lap passes this time. We've seen plenty of that in seasons past, but what a great way to kick off the season. We've had 2 cracking races at the Rolex 24 now here at the Mobile One 12 Hours of Sebring. Thank you to Forge Line for the Spirit of the Race Awards. And we'll be back with the rest of the season live here on IMSA Radio and IMSA TV across the 2019 season.